How's it going?
Great. How are you?
Good.
That's Vanessa.
Where do I go?
No, you're good.
You're right
This
there.
this computer is Vanessa. She's on
Oh. Quick.
We got her.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. Ooh.
You're live, you guys, by the way.
Okay.
So you're good to go now. You're good. All right. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Start the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The board wants to provide ample opportunity for public comment on matters that come before us. Your input is important. If you wish to address an item already on the agenda, we ask that you do so when that item comes up for discussion. If you have a comment on a matter not on the agenda, this is the time during our meeting for such comments. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance that to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, a member of the public wishing to address the board during this time will not be allowed to make comments about any student, staff member, or member of the general public during this time. Does anyone wish to speak at this time? Okay, recognition of individuals, delegations, or correspondence. I guess I would like to bring recognition to one and propose maybe we do a little further recognition. Mr. Olson has retired from activity bus driving. I haven't got the number of years that he did that, but I know it's a great many. So I guess I would like to see us do something, in recognition for that if we could. I think he's definitely made an impact on a lot of different students over the years, as well as the district in general. So if anybody here is watching, or if he's watching, thank you for that. And yeah, I guess I'd like to see us do something at some point along the way if we could. Okay. Elementary building project. Turn it over to Rich.
Okay, yeah, Shane's not here tonight, so I'll update everybody on what's been going on for the last month. On the press box, they got it to a usable state and have the siding on order, and they expect that to come in 2 to 3 weeks. And they just were able to order the roll-up windows that are going to go on those openings, and they're going to be a little bit further out. But progress has been really good on the press box. The elementary school construction is, progressing extremely well. Don't want to get too comfortable with it because there's still just a lot of work. They got a lot of people on site every day making progress. The building's starting to feel like a school. We were able to walk through there. You can tell it's a classroom. Really nice big classrooms, nice traffic flow, and you can see the rough ends going forward real well. They had the topping out beam ceremony, and I think it's on the Facebook page for community to look at and being able to see that. So if there's any questions about any of this stuff, you guys can stop me at any time. But our middle school and high school HVAC projects, we had you guys approved that initial work for the design team to do the walkthrough and take a look at the details of what's on that, what's been identified. So the team was here a couple weeks ago, did a detailed walkthrough and looked at all the equipment in the middle school, which we had a pretty good feel for. Walkthrough on the high school side as well. And Kevin, we looked at those additional items that you brought up and really appreciate that. Got into the shop class, and there'd even been some past emails identifying that, so it's great to get that included. We also looked at the H&V unit that serves the new gym that has the heat wheel, and that heat wheel is the heat exchanger for that piece of equipment. It's not a heat recovery heat wheel. And actually, even with all the expertise, with the design that Joe used from, it's going to be designing it. I had your owner's rep here, commissioning, I was there, of course, but then their owner's commissioning agent.
Is that Elkhorn?
Elkhorn commissioning, Kevin Smith, and none of them had seen that, but it's a heat exchanger. So we talked about some options to do with that piece of equipment, and we tentatively expect that report to come in on September 24th, and we'll see what the opportunities are for that. So that's progressing well. And then Susie and I got some emails today about the high school re-roof that's going to be part of that insurance. And it looks like we'll set that bid opening for October 19th, which will be considerably ahead of what we initially talked about, but with the long lead time on materials. So we appreciate the time, folks, pushing that, getting it out early.
You would probably start that this spring, would you?
Correct, it's slated for next summer.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, construction will be next summer, but this will get us on, hopefully we'll get lots of, at least a few bidders to show up and have interest and get it on their schedule.
And get material coming because it's about 7 months out, he said.
So the 19th is the bid opening?
That's tentatively what we're looking at.
Okay.
So we're discussing that, and we'll finalize it, we'll get it out there. We'd advertise the 3rd and the 10th, get the 2 advertisements, have a pre-bid walkthrough on the 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a very ambitious schedule.
And that would be right here in the community room. It's a bid opening.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll just add that, the construction project, Dick Anderson's done a good job of keeping subs moving. There's been some delays because of materials, but they've been able to just, move from one area to another to keep people moving. I think last week they had an average of, over 50 employees or people working, on that project, which is pretty substantial. And, the progress as you walk by it and walk through it, it seems like we're really moving in the right direction and moving fast. You can see they put in the supports for that learning stair today. So that's pretty neat to be able to start to see those things and whatnot. So,
Even just week to week, it's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
good. Oh, that looks different. Oh. There's a lot going on.
Now, would you say that we're on schedule, we're ahead of schedule?
it's one of those things nobody wants to say.
Just don't want to say, okay, all right, I didn't ask.
Yeah. It's don't want to jinx yourself, but they're on schedule. I mean,
Okay.
They're, yeah.
Okay.
Looking to have it, pretty well closed in by, the end of October, mid-October.
Mhm.
So which is a key,
Mhm.
ahead of the inclement weather, because, then stuff goes on inside, doesn't really matter. So there.
Yeah, some roofings, the roofing contractor's on site, so that's a good sign. Getting it closed in is a huge milestone because that impacts productivity during the bad weather through the winter. And in Montana, you can't get it done soon enough. We all know how the weather treats us here.
So that enclosure is about 6 weeks out, give or take. Okay.
another thing that we talked to Dick Anderson about in our construction meeting today was about the education opportunities during the project for students. And so they said in about 3 weeks, it'll be safe enough to where they'd feel comfortable having students walk through the construction area and that kind of thing. The shop class is going to help with putting the walls up in the press box. And then also they had some design and engineering using the plans and creating the garden boxes projects that they would supply the materials for and help teach the shop classes for that. And then possibly some engineering, some work and some different presenters that could zoom in to do some of the drafting and CAD work and that kind of thing with the students. So that was good to hear. And the little ones got to be part of the topping out beam ceremony. So that was a really neat video that we got from Dick Anderson to share with the community.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught that, but they painted the beam and then all the elementary kids got to sign it, and put their name on it.
And it's up now. They put it up so it's kind of cool to see it up there.
Yeah, I think we were talking about them signing it last meeting, I think maybe, or at some point in between, but.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, you got it. It's nice, everything's going well. Just gotta keep it moving.
All right, thank you, Rich.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Yeah,
Rich.
thank you.
Thanks for stopping in to visit today too. I appreciate that. It helps Christy and I make sure we're on top of bills and all of that. So appreciate your time.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, Rich, I guess I will add one thing that, one thing that has changed is it looks like we're going to leave the greenhouse where it is and not move it across to the football field. Brad and, I think the admin is where it really came. It after looking at it, it didn't seem like it really made sense to cram 160 middle school students into that little area. And with what we've done on the backside, that access and having those kids room and looking at what it was going to cost us to do that and whatnot, talking to the ag teacher, I think the current plan is to leave the greenhouse alone, which will actually be some money coming back to us and save.
So that was a $20,000 bill or something?
It was
to move
over
it?
30,
Oh, it's 30. to move it.
37,000.
And it was also the doorways not going in there.
Right, there was a doorway that would have vestibule that would have been created in what's Brad's office now, and that won't be necessary either. So there's some money that will go back to the contingency, from that. And I think it makes the ag teacher and those students, happier to not have to do that. And I know it made Dick Anderson happier to not have to pick it up or take it apart and move it. So that was the one thing.
No, thanks, Jason. That is a big, we're working on the exact amount of that credit now.
Okay.
And, that does help schedule wise.
It's a win-win for everybody. And then after they poured that out, that pad, the big land, there's tons of space back there. And the junior high kids will be real comfortable out there and happy with that space. And they're close to the football field. And I think it's a good win-win for everybody.
Oh, yeah, space on the backside? Is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, like they did
Kind of where
currently
they are,
before,
Yeah.
they'll still access during their recess time, go to the north out there and have that end of the football field and the track.
Oh, okay.
And then we created, you saw the
I did.
patio basically that came about in that area.
Okay.
I think Brad felt that it was better for the students, to have that extra space, plus all the benefits of not moving the greenhouse.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
All right. Moving on, consent action items, minutes and warrants.
I'll move to approve the minutes and warrants as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes and warrants as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Action items, permission for overnight fifth grade field trip.
So the fifth graders are prepared to go on their annual field trip, and they go to the Montana Learning Center, which is on Canyon Ferry Lake. It's pretty neat. I'm sure you've all driven by there. And so they're excited for that overnight trip and are just seeking your permission to do so.
Well, I move to approve the fifth grade field trip to the Montana Learning Center.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the fifth grade field trip to the Montana Learning Center. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Permission for the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, October 27th through 30th.
So FFA would like to attend the national convention. We talked about just making sure that we purchased the plane tickets with insurance in case there's any COVID issues and those kinds of things. So we would like your permission for the students to attend that national convention.
Did she tell you how many?
That's a good question. I can't remember. She did at one point, but we talked about it a while ago. Sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head.
Now we had and this is great in my mind, but the conversation we had a couple of years ago was around the insurance. While they were there, does our insurance covers everybody in state, out of the state, all that.
Mhm.
So we're good on that, okay? Because I know we had an extended conversation
Right, we
about
had an
that.
extended conversation, and I think Eric, if I remember right, dug into that.
We had some students who weren't they weren't any longer attending high school here, they were in their first
They
year.
were no
of
longer
college.
enrolled students.
Right,
And that was the
right.
issue.
That was the
Okay.
issue.
That makes
Okay,
sense.
yeah, thanks for
Last
clarifying.
year's seniors that were coming back because they were receiving awards or recognition from the previous.
Right, okay, gotcha. Okay, so thank you for clearing that up. Yeah, thank you. So I move to approve the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, or the approval, let's say move to approve.
Students to attend.
Yeah,
probably.
students, I move to approve, the students can attend the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, October 27th to 30th. think that's
Sorry, I
well
should have typed
understated.
that a little different.
It's been moved.
She had a little light go on.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that students are able to attend the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, October 27th through 30th. Any further discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Yep, approve Old Baldy education courses.
So we already have open gym rolling, and that's on Wednesday nights. And I know they're very appreciative of using the gym for that. And then they would like to start pickleball September 22nd. And Melinda Reedy is the one coordinating all of that and is seeking the board's approval for pickleball to start. We've also had some input from the community for ideas for adult education courses like basic mechanics, where there could be like changing the tire and the oil. One thought was it could be like maybe one be a women's night and then one be like a family night where people could bring their kids that are in driver's ed or whatever to learn, that kind of thing. So we could see if there's people interested in teaching those courses and people interested in taking them. So
Well, I would hate to stand in the way of pickleball. So I move to approve the adult education courses and recreation starting September 22nd.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the adult education courses and recreation to begin. Any further discussion?
Now, I would just ask, when do you think you might know about the additional courses, the potential additional courses?
yeah, I'll start working with Melinda on those. I think there's a lot of different things that community members are interested in, maybe we could put out some kind of a survey. We do have quite a bit of money in that account since it was not used last year. And so I know people have asked about welding, and there's possibility of like English and some literacy courses. We do have some new families to town that could benefit from some English language courses and some different things like that. So yeah, it's definitely something. I don't know what has been done in the past. If we want to keep some of the traditional ones going, I know you guys have had some great courses in the past, and then maybe see what else the community's interested in or teachers are interested in. I know there's one gal that's interested in doing like yoga, and some different things. So
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I will put that on my list.
Any further discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Stipend for additional duties for paraprofessionals.
So I sent you guys out the pay comparisons, and it seemed to me like the average, I didn't calculate everything out, but it seemed to me like the average was around $15 an hour for paras, and then usually about a $2 difference for high needs. Some different words are used. We call it inclusion paras. In some districts, they're called high needs paras. And that's usually an additional $2 an hour around there from what I found. So we're currently at around $10 an hour, and that's been a big challenge to keep people employed, and to get anyone to, we've interviewed some great applicants, and then they just walked out when we've showed them the wages. These people, especially the high needs paras, they are doing toileting. They have to be trained because in techniques for physically, holding students, they get bitten, all kinds of things. It's not an easy job at all. And we just had another person retire. So we're definitely short-staffed, and it is very challenging in the classrooms for the teachers, especially in the lower grades, but also, at every grade level, those students need that support, and we're required by law to provide that support if it's in their IEP. So we really need to find a way to be competitive and be able to fill these positions. So until we have, this year to run the budget and Christy and I get a really firm grasp on it, and I can make a more longitudinal recommendation. And also, not only that, but right now we have the ESSER funds. So I think, one of the things that I wrote into our ESSER budget application and checked the box for and is allowable is to use ESSER funds for recruitment and retention efforts during COVID. So it's definitely within the and within our ability to do that. And a lot of districts are using ESSER funds to do so. And so I think for this year, it'd be wise to do a 1 year, and then we can negotiate and really look at the contracts and where we're at with our budget long-term and see what we can do for raises to make our pay more competitive in the future. But for this year, we could do the stipends. So there's a few different ways you could do it. You could do daily. You could do it by month. You could do a one-time bonus, this fall. And that might, if we advertise it that way, like a hiring bonus, that might bring some new applicants in. And then we could do the other half on their final paycheck. I did that at the school I was at last year. That seemed to work well. Because then you make sure you keep those folks for the rest of the school year. So there's a few different ways, but I thought that the $1,800 a para would be helpful and get us to where we might be able to get a few people hired.
How many are we short, or you feel we're short right now?
We're short 3 in the elementary, 1 in the high school,
And half of one in the
Half.
middle, right?
and 0.5 in the middle school. And
Almost 5.
And it's just a real challenge with the playground situation we have going on with the construction and everything. It makes it even more complicated. So I take the kids to and from the playground. Christina mans the lunchroom for the little ones. I mean, we're all hands on deck. I think, it's great. And I'm recess duty after school, those kinds of things. So I love it. It's been a great way to get to know the kids. I know Brad's in the lunchroom, and of course Sherry's doing what she can to supervise the hallways and that kind of thing. But there's also other times when we have things that we should be dealing with that we have to set aside. And I don't know if it's the best way of, the best use of our time to be doing that, for hours a day, that kind of supervision that we could be paying someone $15 an hour to do. When I need to work on, we need to work on policies and family meetings and those kinds of things.
How would, and I'm just curious, because there's, well, in the end, $1,800 a year extra.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think would be the best way to approach that as out of payment, from a payment perspective, $10 a day or the monthly rate, or could a person have their choice? That probably would be hard for bookkeeping, I suspect. What do you think makes sense?
What do you think, Christy?
I think I like the $10 a day. But if you offer people a larger chunk, they may get their interest. But $10 a day for me would probably be easier.
Okay.
I agree with the 750, the bonus part, you'll probably get a lot more interest. You've seen that a lot of places with bonuses.
Now, if there's a bonus, then that means the hourly rate stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
Is the bonus tax higher?
So the bonuses usually are different tax rate too, different tax.
Yeah, it would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it depends upon what level, depends upon what the total amount is, yeah.
I know you guys did 500 for staff last year.
Mhm.
Yeah. And we just have to be careful about what we call it. It's an additional payment for additional duties. And they're doing additional duties with cleaning and all the extra stuff we have to do with COVID. So that's why we're allowed to do that. So I can't remember which word it is they don't like, stipend or bonus or one of them, but I wrote it right in the application. So, yeah, it's just to compensate them for those additional duties. And that's something we can do for this year until we renegotiate, and hopefully can at least get to where we can handle our daily load of students and playground and recess times.
Well, again, this is a little bit of a redundant question, but in regard to strategies for recruitment, Christina, you mentioned you thought 750 would be a better recruiting tool. Is that?
I just think people are getting that nice chunk of money, especially if you're getting it fall before Christmas and then another one next spring. For the $10 a day, you just don't see it as much, honestly.
And thank you. And any additional ideas around recruitment strategies?
So we have on here, when I posted the playground aide position, which is something that was new that we were trying, because some people don't feel comfortable or feel like they have the skills to work in that, working with special ed children, or and maybe feel that they're not qualified or have the physical ability to do a job at that level. So that's why I posted the playground aide position. I know I've worked at schools where we had retired folks that would walk across the street and work just those recess times and then walk back home, that kind of thing, and just enjoyed kind of playing with the kids and supervising that on the playground. So that was one strategy. And when we put on there that they would get a lunch ticket, staff really liked that. And the paras asked me if there's any way that they could get a lunch ticket, and that would make them feel appreciated and would be a big deal to them. And it's $4 a lunch for an adult lunch. And so that's on here as well. Kind of as until we can get our wages to a more competitive rate to offer those positions, those classified positions, a lunch is something else that they seemed very interested in. So those
Honestly,
were,
if we just get their pay up, we're just gonna help our retention, because we've lost people because of pay.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And one we interviewed, as soon as she was excellent, and as soon as she saw the pay, she's like, sorry, bye.
I should, well, and not just, none of us want to are in the business to work with kids and want to make great money at it. But, they can't even pay for daycare for what we're paying them. So
Yeah.
that was, and great people that would have been great with the kids and have experience and just were really passionate about it, but couldn't afford, they'd be losing money paying for daycare to come work for us. So.
The only fear, I guess, with the bone or the stipend thing is, if they come on and then don't stay for a long enough period of time to get our value out of that, where, the higher rate of pay, I feel like everybody gets what they deserved, but I understand where, it's not there's not as much incentive to join on because of that.
We can
But I
write it
think-
into the contract to where they have to stay for
X amount.
of time. Yeah.
Before they get their first one.
Even having them, yeah, multi-phased.
Right, I like the
Yeah.
idea of splitting it, if you did
Yeah.
half up front, but
But with the signing one, we could say that, it was contingent upon them staying through,
Your
Yeah.
90 degrees.
something.
Kevin, what do you think?
I'm not directly involved in hiring. I don't really know what the employment landscape looks like, so kind of taking your input on it and Christina's, so.
Yeah, they're hiring
if
for,
there's what's your, you call it a grace period, do you have a probationary period for employees?
I believe we have
Is it 90 days?
the 90-day grace period. Yeah.
90 days?
And then, and like Town Pump right now is doing $12 an hour, and I believe they're doing a hiring bonus too. So we are losing people over to Town Pump.
We got one from them.
Not too many.
Yeah, we got one from them and we lost. So, it's just hard.
So that additional duties money would come at the end of the probationary period?
We could set up however you guys would like. I
Do you
know,
think that would work?
I think if you did like the first half of your probationary period, then the last half, like at your last paycheck.
yeah,
At
I think
least it gives them something.
people would be,
Yeah, there's always gonna be a certain amount of.
if we
risk.
could get it like on the November paycheck or something, that means a lot to people. That's
Right.
what I found last year. So they know they have money for the holidays and things for their families. But then also you can write that in there. It's hard to enforce once you've already given them the money, but you can. And then we can do the second half at the end of the year.
Well, if you don't say, they don't get the second half of the bonus,
Right.
so.
And you see that a lot of businesses are doing that. You have to work so many days before you get part of it, or, so it's not like they're getting it right when they walk in the door.
Yeah, there's Pizza Hut, all kinds of places have it on their reader boards, $500 sign-on bonus.
There's a little pizza joint in Boulder giving $1,000 sign-on bonus if people work there.
Let's go.
But you have to work.
Yeah.
Kevin's ready.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll go right along too.
It's my retirement.
And that was just a number that I drew up that I thought was feasible for this year. I don't, so
Mhm.
you guys have the decision to choose a different amount or how it's set up, so.
Well, in my mind, and I'm not sure what you guys are all thinking, from a bookkeeping perspective, is that structure gonna work okay then from that perspective? Okay. 'Cause I just remember that we had different situations, different scenarios where it was really difficult
Yeah, we don't
on
need
the
to make
bookkeeping side.
Christie's life
Every
any
month,
harder.
we have a certain set of stipends anyway that need to be paid.
Okay.
And so, we already have it set up in the program for the stipends. And it's just different amounts, or you can enter the amount you want.
For activities or coaching or.
So, and then you feel $750 is,
Well, it depends if you're doing the 1,800 or if you're doing 1,500.
oh, I see.
Yeah.
I
just
see.
Different.
Yeah.
Just, I was giving out different ideas, so.
So I would, from my own personal perspective, I think 900 twice.
Okay.
I mean, but
Yeah, I guess we've got several things here that kind of all follow the same line of discussion. I think we need to do what we can to incentivize all of these things to get some more help. I think as she mentioned, I think it's critical this year with as much new as we have to really watch that budget month by month. We've got to the end of the last couple of years and we had, some surplus that we had to deal with. And I think in the long run, that's where this money probably needs to come out of, and that we need to do a more diligent job of utilizing that appropriately. And I think it's going to take this year, the two of them learning it together and all of us to analyze that out, because obviously we don't want to get to the end of our ESSER funds and have a bunch of expenses going forward that we can't afford to continue.
right.
We know once we raise those levels, going back is really not an option. So then we end up cutting people instead of wages. So I
True.
think that's
Yeah.
the part of tracking that. We have the flexibility of the ESSER monies to get us hopefully to a place that we can sustain, but monitoring that as we go along to make sure that we get ourselves in a position that we can sustain.
Our A and B, for example, last year you guys started with 630 students around there, I believe, and we're at about 680. So our A and B will be going up. We have a lot of new families, a lot of new needs, and so those are things to consider. Also, teachers are getting burnt out quick without help in their rooms and packed classrooms. If we get any additional students in certain grade levels, we're required by law to put a para in their classrooms for X amount of hours a day. And we don't have any bodies to do that at this time. So those are all just factors to consider. And as Jason was discussing, last year, we had about $200,000 surplus that we had to spend quickly. And, so we looked at priorities and did our best to make those orders and purchases in a time crunch. But I think that it would be better spent on these salaries that we need to get up to a reasonable rate and make sure that we're staffed so we can efficiently operate the school.
I guess in terms of this specific one, I think the 900 twice is an appropriate place to start.
And that also means these are, and I'm just thinking out loud, okay, so these are also ESSER monies. If when those ESSER monies run out, then we have to kind of reevaluate what that budget, where we're at with the budget, after that. And if the actual wage per hour doesn't, increase, it seems to me we have more flexibility in how we can adjust and work with that later on. If we don't set an expectation of additional dollars per hour. And I don't think I'm seeing that. I think I see that right. I think. And so I guess I'm saying,
It's easier to, I guess, not have a stipend than it is to raise a wage across the full board and then have to figure out how to compensate.
it'd be more difficult to raise the wage across the full board.
Correct.
Yeah, because we're just not sure where we're gonna be after those extra funds. So stipends seem to be
The stipend could go away easily with ESSER going away,
Right.
whereas a higher wage
Right.
really can't.
and again, the intent is that we want to raise everybody, you know, in some way, shape or form, but it's dependent upon A and B and budgets and all those things. So this gives us more flexibility in my mind.
Yes, I would agree.
At the state level, we talk about them as, critical shortage areas. And so those are the areas that, would be our priority to raise the wages in, the areas that the positions we can't fill.
Yeah.
Which right now is the ones that you have before you.
Yeah.
And Brad,
Okay.
Brad brought up a good point, but I just want to clarify that this is for everyone, not just people that were newly hired. This is
Correct.
stipend for everyone.
Yep. Yeah, and I
All
did
Paris.
not write that
All
super
pairs.
clear with
Yeah,
the
yeah, it
1,800 and then the
wasn't just
750,
just not
sorry.
new hires, this would be everyone.
Yep.
And our current ones, new hires.
Yeah, so when I did the math of the 10 times the 1,800, that would be, we had 9. We already lost another one since I typed this. But that would be, hoping we got up to at least 10 or 11. It'd be 18,000 or, between 18 and 20,000.
Well, how about this? And then I can rescind the motion if it doesn't make sense.
Write it down.
Write it down. Well, I didn't think it was going to be that complicated,
Okay,
but maybe
I'm
it
ready.
is. Maybe it is. I move to approve a stipend of $1,800 for full-time paraprofessionals for the 2021-2022 school year to be split evenly in the first half and second half of the academic year, as determined by the superintendent.
That works.
Does that work?
Mhm.
Is that,
Because you said you wanted to get that first payment in before the holidays, so the 90 days would probably be too long.
We can do it at the middle
Like
of that
6 to
though,
8
like you
weeks or
said.
something
Yeah,
like
I'll look on the calendar. So I think the way that he said it will work.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve a stipend of $1,800 for full-time paraprofessionals for the 2021-2022 school year to be split evenly between the first and second half of the academic school year.
as the superintendent sees fit? I mean, I said something differently, but
Yeah, Christy and I
Yeah.
will look at calendars and figure out when
As
makes sense for us.
as determined by the
As determined
superintendent.
by the superintendent.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Stipend for additional duties for substitutes.
So we have had substitutes call, I know at every grade level. And so I've heard from each of the principals about this. And we have retired teachers that would be interested in those kinds of things. And they joke about like, we can't drive there and get lunch for $72 or that kind of thing. And then as you saw, once again, on the pay comparison, I would say the average was like 95. So if we did a $25 stipend, that would raise our sub rate to 97. And so I think that's much more reasonable. I know that it really varied by district, but I didn't see anybody under 90 in the tiniest of districts. And then, the larger districts like Bozeman's at 116, the school that I was at last year, we did have to, people did have to drive a ways out there because we were past Livingston about 25 miles, but we were at 125. We were at 100, and then we did the $25 stipend with our ESSER funds last year. And so I think that would hopefully get some interest, and we might be able to get a few more subs to come in. $72, I calculated out, it's barely legal. I don't even questionably legal for minimum wage. So I think that for this year, we need to do that and then definitely look at how we can raise that.
Are you gonna throw in lunch on this too?
No, I didn't put lunch for the subs. We could if you want to.
Everybody else.
Kevin wants to stop and-
I didn't know, like, it's a big deal, lunch here. Everyone likes the lunch, so. And it's just that thing, I think, even with the sub stipend, it's just like, obviously these people that are wanting to do this, miss working with the kids and enjoy helping out the school. Some of them are like, can I just do it as a volunteer? I don't really want $72. Like, it's not even about that. It's just about them feeling appreciated and, and worth their time, some of them, so.
Our sub list is very
Sounds
small.
good.
Now, is there any clarification the person needs though around whether it's full day or half day? If the sub comes in for a half
It's a
day?
good question. Yeah, I didn't put that consideration in here.
Should we put $25 for a full day and?
And prorated for
Half
anything
day.
less,
Yep,
maybe?
yep, sorry, I didn't even think about that.
Well,
I
some of
think,
them,
Sean, we're okay because I think the way we are set up for subs and how, whether they come in 2 hours or 4 hours or the whole, we have to pay either a half day or a full day.
Yeah.
half day, okay, so
Yeah.
we're, okay.
So it would just be half of that for a half day, yeah. That makes sense.
Once they're in, we keep them, we don't want
They don't get out.
Yeah.
We'll find something.
And
for
same
them.
We
thing
find
with-
a lot for them to do.
Same thing for my thought was the same thing for the paras, was if they're half-time, it'd be half,
Okay,
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it would just be prorated.
Well, what we found lately is that, say we have somebody where we have a staff member that needs the last 2 periods of the day covered in the high school first activity or something, but yet we're still short a sub from noon to 2, and we just plug everybody everywhere. So that seems to be working really well too.
so again, it's half day or full day, basically. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right. And just, this is kind of an aside. Is it important to clarify on these, on the contracts or at least notify in some way? And maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but to clarify on the contract that the stipend is a 1-year offering and will not continue in perpetuity?
But we did have the year listed on that first one
We
we did. Well, the
did.
year's listed on all of them.
Yeah, I
We
made sure
do,
the
we
year
do.
was
I was
listed
just
on all
thinking
of them.
about,
Yeah.
the clarity might be
We'll be real
helpful.
clear in our messaging for that, yeah. And on contracts.
Can we negotiate the certified contract this year? Yes. We negotiate. that?
Yeah, that's why I thought this would be a good way to get us through until then.
Okay, so I move to approve the $25 per day stipend for full-time subs for the 2021-22 school year, and half that amount, $12.50 for per day stipend for 1 half-time subs for 2021-2022.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the $25 per day stipend for full-day substitutes for the 2021-2022 school year, and half of that, $12.50 for half-day subs. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Stipend for additional duties for activity bus drivers.
So, Brad and I talked about this quite a bit today too. It is a lot of work. It's not just jump on the bus. They have to do the pre-check. They have to, get everything loaded. It's a ton of responsibility taking those kids. They have to clean the bus afterwards and all of that. So, it's not just, jump in and go. So that's something to think about. I think that, we could do this as a signing bonus. We're really trying to recruit, but we could also honor those that we have with the $500 bonus. And then I just think it's a recruitment effort. We're desperate. We have activities this weekend we don't have drivers for. So this is super necessary, and they definitely do a lot of work. Another thing that Mr. Rock mentioned was that there's not any incentive or really way to work with staff on driving. And Chrissy and I need to look into some of that to see, what the laws are on that, because obviously you can't double dip. But they're like, oh, I'm not gonna, we do have some teachers that we could pull to drive that have their CDLs and the correct endorsements, but they are like, I'm not gonna create sub lessons and then go have to do all that work and then go drive the bus and not get any additional compensation. So I don't know how or if there's a way around that, but it's something to consider too, because there are some staff that would do it when we were in a pinch that we'd be able to cover their classrooms more easily than we could find someone to drive the bus. So those are just a couple things to think about. And then the other thing that has come up is the licensing fees. So we have people that just need that additional passenger fee. The medical is $125. And so if we would cover those fees so that they could get to where they were properly licensed, it wouldn't be a hardship for them to get that taken care of so they could start driving the activity bus. We have had a few people that were interested if we could help with that.
With the first item is, I just question is, for all that they do, I guess we're on the stipend for additional duties for activity bus drivers.
Correct.
Oh gosh, I was on the signing bonus one. Sorry. You're right.
Well, and yes,
Got ahead of
Started and then you
myself.
skipped ahead.
yeah, it all ties, but it all ties
It's just
together.
combining.
Yep.
Inefficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for that is, and I don't know, is $20 per trip with all the extra things that they do? I don't know, is that enough?
Well, I just thought
I don't
at
know.
least we'd be paying for their dinner. I mean, I don't know.
What's the base pay
It's
for an activity trip?
I would have to
nine
look it up, but it's 9 something.
something.
Per hour?
And they move up to the next pay grade if they put in 210 hours a year, I believe that. That's not, okay, well, that's what I think it is. I think that you don't just move up just because it's a new year. I think you have to have been a very regular bus driver and put in a lot of hours to move up to the next pay grade the next year.
So we've changed some over the years. Currently, are they paid for downtime when they are at an event?
I believe so. I believe they put the start time that they start their
So
trip.
they're on the
until-
clock if they go to an all-day field trip.
Mhm.
Okay.
And usually they
At one point,
stay
we
with
did
the
a little bit,
bus,
like,
so it's not like they get to go in. They don't usually, I don't know, it probably depends, but usually they stay with the bus. So,
I've seen them go into
yeah.
and support the children.
Yeah, or helping, they don't go out sightseeing or anything, so
No.
they definitely should be paid for that
During
time.
basketball,
Yeah,
they're doing the book, for the teams.
yeah, additional, helping out, so.
Well, and it seems to me that we, need to really consider that wage at some point as well. Because that's,
I agree, that's a
Well,
pretty
that's
critical
That's a
function.
certified, I mean, there's a.
Yeah.
matrix on the certified.
right, absolutely.
And I just, we gotta start with, right, I know it's kind of a negotiated thing, but I just, all the years I spent writing with those guys, we have been through some horrendous things, and they get overlooked a lot at how difficult it is.
Yeah.
They drive some
Stress,
really
yeah.
tough things with some really precious cargo, and I admire any of them that take on the responsibility of doing it. It is tough.
Is that in classified negotiations?
I believe it is.
I'm sorry?
Is that wage, would that be in with the classified
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
negotiations?
yeah. Yeah, there's a whole nother.
So it's a
matrix.
separate matrix.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it's all a paras, subs.
Right, I knew the pairs and
Kitchen, everybody.
Yeah, all
Kitchen,
classified.
Custodial, everybody's. on
Right.
Right, and I've seen that matrix, but if they're saying that it's based on hours driven,
I don't know about that. I don't recall. I probably have seen it. but I don't recall that.
And I don't recall, I've never heard that before.
I'll look into that. Okay.
Matter of fact, that may very well be the case. I don't think that that's ever been the case, because I think it's just been yearly, according to the matrix and years of experience.
Okay.
And I mean, I just was trying to come up with numbers. I got a rough estimate from Sherry on how many trips there were last year. And so,
There's a wild guess.
I was-
Averaged it out.
yeah, so I was just trying to come up with something, some kind of number of, what it would cost us for the year. I totally agree with you if you would like to do an additional 30 or what you think is appropriate. That is
What would you
your authority.
What would you consider equity between paras, subs, and bus drivers as far as a stipend would be concerned? 20, 30? I don't know. What would you consider as equity?
I mean, to me, you're comparing a little bit of two completely different.
Apples and oranges. I get that.
Like,
I get that.
that's a very difficult comparison.
Mhm.
The other thing to me that, is a lot of times it's their evenings and weekends.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the work
Most
day.
of it.
Yeah.
It's all evenings and weekends.
And so it's definitely pretty much, once again, like a volunteer kind of thing. I mean, they're doing it as a service to the school district, and that's what I don't know, $20. I was like, well, at least they could get dinner while they're,
It's a level of responsibility.
yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I think $30 would be reasonable. I don't know if anybody has any other ideas, but
I would agree.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. Because it is a huge amount of responsibility. You got a bunch of kids and a bus and snowy roads and,
mhm.
yeah.
Upset coaches.
Yeah.
No, that might have just.
Stinky
That
kids.
makes
Moose.
Football
Moose,
caps alone.
moose.
Yeah.
Ed, what's your thoughts?
When I started doing this, I was doing it because I wanted to for the kids. It has turned out to be a lot more driving than what we had planned on to start with. Especially this year since we're short drivers, but, yeah, I think any kind of a bonus will help bring more people in. I know people have said, you get what for wages? And I said, I don't know. I have no idea what I get.
Is that because you don't know or just don't want to say?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, now you might quit, now you know.
Oh, yeah, don't quit. We're in real trouble. Don't quit it.
And the thing, if we stay with the bus, then we're gonna have to keep track of our driving hours.
Oh,
So when I get to a school, as long as I can lock the bus and leave it locked, I'm not attached to that bus. If I have to keep going out, and I have to keep track of my hours, and that cuts back on the drive time.
well, you're skilled and involved though. I saw you out there line judging. So that's good. We can put, yeah.
That hours of service thing, I don't think we want to miss.
No,
Yeah, right.
I
So-
agree. I think that if you can participate in the events going on, that's excellent.
So I move to pay a $30 stipend per trip for activity drivers for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay a $30 stipend per trip for activity bus drivers for the 2021-2022 school year. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Now, the hiring bonus and costs of obtaining the CDL covered for activity bus drivers.
Sorry, got ahead of myself. So we already talked about this one a little bit, but I just thought, that might be a good recruitment tool. If we were able to advertise that and get the word out, we might get some applicants. Like I said, people don't want to take on a hardship when they're taking on, a low paying job of costing, their family hundreds of dollars. So I think if we covered that, and, you never know, they might end up like Ed and be driving all kinds of trips and helping us for years, or like some of our other drivers. So I think if we can get people licensed properly and get them started. Hopefully they'll enjoy it and stay with us. So I just thought, and then some people were wondering about that, and I think that would be
Similar to what we're doing. with
nice to
parents.
honor them and do that. Yeah.
The last 2 years, my physicals have been paid by you guys. Whether it's supposed to be or not.
Good for us.
I already have done that a little bit this year.
Was that the Elkhorn Bat one?
That doesn't count.
I'm 100% behind a hiring bonus for that. I mean, I think that's a great idea, but do we want to do the same thing where we must serve X number of trips before you're eligible for the bonus?
Mhm.
And maybe even a reimbursement at some point for the cost of the physical exam, simply because, like sub-wise, I know we've, over the years, performed and paid for dozens and dozens of background checks for people that never served a day. Usually they change their mind after they do it. I mean, it might be wise to just make sure we get service out of them.
I would say that definitely. Because, yeah, somebody will get their DOT physical and then go take off and drive a truck and you never see them again.
Agreed.
So reimbursement after how many hours? 20,
It doesn't take long to get 20 hours.
40? I don't know.
Yeah,
You tell me.
so you can figure 12 to 14 hours, pretty close if you have a trip past Manhattan, so.
Can you do number of trips, or is that not work that way?
I think I would do trips.
Must drive X number of trips to be eligible for the bonus.
I like that. Or a season. I don't know.
How many trips would you? Half a dozen? I don't know, 10, I don't know.
That's reasonable, isn't it?
Yeah, I think 10 would be
I
reasonable.
like 10.
So upon completion of 10 activity trips, you would get reimbursed for any licensing and medical fees that you incurred, and you would receive your $500 signing bonus.
Another example would be.
Additional duties.
Additional duties,
Well,
pay.
I wonder, does it make sense to, and then like a stipend or a hiring bonus after 10 trips makes sense,
Yeah,
I think. What about though for,
our current drivers.
well, and yeah, either a stipend or a hiring bonus, which would cover new people or our current drivers?
I think so. Kind of like we did with the paras, everybody's getting
Yeah.
additional duties,
So if we do,
compensation.
Right, agreed, yeah. Now, what I would ask to be clarified though would be, where are we at? The signing bonus is okay, but what about the fees for licensing? For taking the license or taking the exam? How much is that?
Yeah, because the licensing would be a one-time.
It was a one-time, that's right. Do we do that already? Do we pay for?
And the physical is every 2 years.
It's two, okay. So licensing, so that we pay for the licensing and the physicals, is that what we're thinking?
Well, here's another example. We have a person on staff already that can only drive certain buses because they don't have their air brakes endorsement. So if we could maybe help get that endorsement, I don't know what that costs. That's out of my realm of knowledge, but I mean,
Yeah.
anything we can do to help anybody who would be interested in driving and make it easier for them. to
Yeah,
Cover
or
those kinds of
like those
things.
passenger endorsement,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, the endorsements are not
They're,
it's not a high fee thing
No.
once they.
I think
even
they're
the
like
basic
$35 to
ones.
$75.
$40, yeah.
Okay.
It's still something though.
Yeah,
That's
no, I
still
agree.
something, Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just saying it's not gonna add up to a substantial.
Okay,
A
okay.
huge amount.
So if we were to pay for the initial licensing and endorsements as well, is that,
And
Mhm.
physical.
And the physical?
I think the physical is probably, the medical card, that's the ongoing one that I think would probably make
It's costly.
the biggest difference, to people.
Okay, so where are we at with that? I think endorsements. Physical, and then original licensing, how much is that?
The
And then
actual
that's fine.
CDL is like $48.
Oh, okay, it's CDL licensing, okay.
And then if we just say,
Reimbursement after the completion of 10 trips.
mhm.
Okay,
And the additional duties stipend of $500 for activity bus drivers who have completed 10 trips. Once upon completion of 10 trips, then that will cover new and current.
new and current, right.
I hope you got all that.
I don't know, I hope
Holy
Kevin has
cow,
all that
Sean.
written down.
Do you want to specify first 10 trips, not every 10 trips?
First 10,
First,
not every 10.
Oh, that's a real incentive.
My kids, our kids don't know, I get like 3 more.
Yeah, I got more, yeah.
Okay. Let's see, I'm not sure how
That
to,
semester we start over, you get 10 more absences.
as I write that motion, do you want to discuss the next piece, maybe? Okay, I'll write the motion if you
Take a
want.
shot at it, go ahead.
What's that, I'm sorry?
Go ahead and take a shot at it.
Just take a shot at it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, okay. I kind of like how Susie said it. I could have really worked out well. So I move to approve a hiring bonus or stipend after activity drivers have completed 10 trips, activity about $500. Okay, after activity drivers have completed 10 trips, the first 10 trips, and to offer reimbursement for CDL licensing, endorsement, and the physical examination after that point as well. I hope that was kind of.
That works.
You got it.
Mhm.
We can re-edit to make it better, but that's the intent.
Good job.
I would second that. It's been moved and seconded, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
What he said.
Yeah.
Christie knows.
Any further discussion?
Well, you
We
know-
can go back and watch the video again if we have to.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Any
Okay,
further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes.
Well, and I'm glad we've done this because we've talked about these issues for some time. So it's great to do something, and then we'll see where it has to go for next year, so.
Before I move on, you have any other bus info that you want to discuss?
Yes. I had the 4 main buses serviced. I didn't do bus number 4 because it only gets 50 miles a year anyway. Everything passed with flying colors except the Van Hool. And it passed this year. There's some bushings on the front end that they're seeing some wearing on. And if that gets bad enough and starts shaking more, it'll be about a $15,000 repair bill for that. So just something for you guys to think about. If we want to see if we can update a bus, that would be the one to see if we can.
Seems like you get a whole front end for that. Wow.
Yeah. So everything passed so far this year. I still haven't got highway patrol to inspect them yet. I don't know why, but I called them, left a message, haven't received that back yet. But all the DOT stuff was done.
Great, thank you.
And, something else I was gonna say.
Well, how's that Van Hool? How old is it?
It's 98. So
How many miles?
We had the odometer replaced when we got it.
Oh.
I think it's got.
Sell it quick.
7,500 miles.
No, it's got.
Low use.
Yeah. 270, 240, if I recall.
Good question.
Let's do some dealing.
I
So, I'm
switched out of
sorry, Ed,
budget
I'm sorry,
mind
Ed,
mode
what was-
Bus
after the last.
depreciation's
How
at
many miles do you
148.
Yeah, because it was depleted from that bus purchase.
The new bus.
But we did put the max mills in there this year. So we'll see that continue to go up.
Well, and at the end of the year, we should have another 20 or 30 from the depreciation, right? Or 40 or whatever,
Right.
so.
Mhm.
So we're probably gonna be at 180 then, is that right? At the end of the year?
Yeah, we should almost put 50. I think.
But yeah, I was thinking 40, but it might, you're probably
It's between
right.
the two, I think.
Is it gonna be safe this year?
Yeah.
In limited usage or?
It's safe to run as long as the front end doesn't start shaking.
Oh,
If it
yeah.
starts shaking, then we'll have to watch what we're doing. That new bus that we got, is that 2 years ago already?
Freightliner, yeah.
Yeah, they've upgraded those, and I looked at one of those at the conference this last summer. And they actually have them, they built it 4 inches higher and 4 inches wider. So it actually accommodates the kids a little better. And the way that bus is working, I would definitely look at that. Replace that one, so.
Any idea of how much those run?
No.
That one was 250, 270, what was it?
I think we ended up 270 something by
Yeah.
the time we painted it.
Yeah.
It's been a really good bus.
Well, if you only have one bus that's kind of getting rickety, that's pretty good. Good job.
Especially since we don't have enough people to drive them all at the same time.
Yeah.
Good job maintaining those, Ed, all right.
Good job, Ed.
Yeah, that's a lot better reports than we've had in the past.
And
How's that shop working out?
that is great. I wish the pit was about 4 feet longer.
Oh, man.
Because I have to pull the nose of the 2 big buses right up to the door, and then I still have to crawl under the back end to get into it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's nice after I get in there. Yeah, that's my report on the buses. Everything's working good. The only other thing I was wondering is how we are doing on drivers.
Hmm.
Gonna have
We-
a bunch here pretty quick.
I hope so.
I'll be honest.
Yeah, we did have a teacher apply, or we paid for her medical, told her we would reimburse her to get her medical. And so she is working on that. We have her on do we have her on the list
Yeah,
here?
she's-
Yep, Nicole Austin, activity bus driver. So
AKA pep band.
pep band lady. So we're excited that she came forward. She used to drive bus for a previous job with students. So we're excited that she and that was the thing for her, I think it was helpful that we said we'd cover those costs. So so she is the only one so far. I've heard rumors of people in the community, but no one's actually came in and turned in applications.
How about Jeremy? I'm not sure what his last name is.
Jeremy Rice turned paperwork in last year.
Last year.
Mhm.
Okay, and then
Have to
never
look.
interviewed or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Have to look.
Okay, we can pull his application then and see if he's still interested. Yeah.
He's asked me, he says, what's going on? I said, well, I don't know. I mean, nobody's talked to you. And he said, no.
Yeah, I didn't know we had any
Oh.
current
Oh,
applications.
really? That's awesome.
So
He'd be
that
great.
is exciting.
We might have a problem because he's gonna want to go to volleyball.
We'll pull his application and set up an interview. That's good news.
No issue in basketball season though.
Yeah, it would be.
They can
Because
be.
he's Van den Acres.
Yes, but there's a boy and a girl this year,
That's true.
this year.
That's true.
Awesome. Well, we saved a spot. We asked Bobby to save us a spot in the newspaper, and so she did. So depending on what you guys approve tonight, tomorrow morning, I will be getting a advertisement out so we can hopefully get people excited about these bonuses and get some positions
We'll go
filled,
on
so.
the school page.
Yeah, and I would like to put some money into boosting it on Facebook so that it reaches,
And somebody else mentioned,
Wider.
maybe even like where we post our meeting notices,
Yep.
post office or courthouse, maybe there's enough old school people out there that don't do Facebook and all that.
Yeah.
I think anything we could do with flyers or anything. would
Yeah.
help.
and Indeed.com, I started using that you guys hadn't used before. We do have to pay, but it's a really good spot to get people from like Helena or Three Forks might pay attention to, where they wouldn't see stuff maybe locally, but it's a popular place for people looking for jobs now. So, we'll get it out
I'm not
there.
gonna say anything about it.
What?
We're great for other local businessmen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, inside joke. Well, Ed, I just want to say that we really appreciate you and the service that you've given the district, and thanks for being at volleyball the other night and everything. It's really great to have the community members involved, and we definitely appreciate it, so.
One thing too, if we do get teachers or coaches driving, they are considered on duty, whether they're driving the bus or if they're doing the coaching. Because we talked about that, because Clint was talking about just driving his troop to Haver or whatever, but he's on the clock from the time he gets in until he shuts off, so.
And that's for the driving hours, right? And, okay, okay.
So a long, well, even a short trip, if they were there very long, that would cause problems.
So like your
I don't think, is there a conflict with doing that? I don't see a problem with that.
No, it's just their
There's
hours
not
of service,
the hours of
that they would
service
run out of
for
hours
driving.
of service, so they wouldn't be able to drive home.
Oh, right.
Well, if we get them halfway there, that's better than.
Oh, because what is,
And we'll get your kids there, you have to come pick them up.
So, does that apply to just like, in that case, somebody's the sponsor of that event or the advisor of that event? Or would that be if a high school math teacher drove a middle school field trip or a elementary field trip? Does that work the same way, or is it just if they're of that
If
activity?
he is of that activity,
Okay.
like Clint would be the teacher that's sponsoring.
Like say if Nicole drove the pet van, that would apply to that. But
Which that could be problematic depending on where we are and how long,
Yeah, we tried to argue that point at the conference, and they said no.
Argue that?
I do remember
Yes.
running into that in Grass
So-
Range.
so if I understand, and some of the main events I've gone to have been speech and drama, and those things can last for 10, 12, 14 hours.
Yeah.
So if a person, just as an example, Denise, if she were to drive the bus, in this scenario, and then coach throughout 14 or 16 hours or whatever, and then
Out of hours.
she would be out of hours, because what is the maximum hours?
14.
I think it's worth.
14, so that's there and back. That's what
That's total continuous hours without so many hours of being off duty.
that means a second bus driver.
In that instance.
In that instance, in that case, okay. Because I was just familiar with how long speech and drama meets take, and, so that's something I can understand.
Like district basketball tournament, it's only to Belgrade, but it's the same scenario.
Yeah.
They play 2 games,
Yeah.
they play an early game and a late game, we're there all day.
You're right,
Even though we're
right,
coming
okay.
home, we're still there all day.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
but
you, yeah.
There again, as long as the bus driver does not have to go out to the bus and
Right.
open it for anything, he's off duty.
Okay,
But they're talking about like
But like
coaches and
pet
stuff, yeah.
right. But like if they're advising pep band or doing anything like that counts, that's what you're saying, right, Ed? You're on the clock still.
Yeah, we're still on, because I keep booking stuff for
Right,
basketball,
okay.
so I'm on the clock.
Right, but
But
it's
as
not.
long as I don't have to open the bus.
Oh.
It doesn't count
Oh.
towards his
Oh,
hours
okay.
of
Right.
service.
Okay,
Gotcha.
But a coach, it
But a
does.
coach, it
A
does.
coach, it would, because he's. doing
So
his-
your question
The advisor is
would
yes.
be, she would
Yes.
be in jeopardy.
Right,
in her
okay,
situation.
okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Good to know.
We did make a trip to Shelby, I think it was last year for football. I took the team up and then I came back in a Suburban. And
I remember that.
the other driver rode up in a Suburban and he was fine that way.
Yeah, we used to do that in Grass Range. We had to play that game a lot.
Crash Ranger, 14 hours from it.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Okay, anything else for Ed?
Oh, that's it.
All right, very good, thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, provide that daily lunch to all classified staff.
So, like I said, the only ones that really came forward and told me that they would appreciate it, they do sit in there and eat lunch with the kids, even though it's their lunch break. A lot of times, the paras said that they would appreciate having their lunch paid for, and that would be a nice thing for them. And I didn't hear anything from custodial staff or anything like that, but as you saw in those wage comparisons, all of our classified staff are, underpaid compared to any of the schools in our region, independent of size of districts. So just a little something we could do for this year to make them feel appreciated and just a little incentive. And then also, not everyone's going to want to eat school lunch. It's really hard to come up with a figure, but Chrissy gave me some good numbers and I tried to make an educated guess. Also, there's people that are, gluten-free or keto or who knows what, or just not into I was traumatized after teaching kindergarten. I didn't eat school lunch for a while, I know. So there's people that will eat it, people that won't. So anyways, if that's a way that we can, keep those people or make them feel appreciated, I think that it's a good move. And so that's a ballpark figure, but yeah, it's $4 a day for lunch. So.
I'll move to approve lunch for classified staff for the 21-22 school year.
Or a second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve to offer a lunch to all classified staff for the 2021-2022 school year.
And on that note, right now teachers are having to help with recess and lunch duty. And we met with them and yeah, do you want to explain that, Christina?
So they signed up for different duties throughout the day, and for each one that they do, I have I call them duty tags. And they have a choice of a free lunch, leave 15 minutes early, a free soda, or jean day. Those were the things that they all liked. And so each time they do a duty, they come in and pick which duty tag they want, and sometimes a lot of them take hot lunch, other times they just want to leave 15 minutes early, so they kind of get to pick and choose then, so it's not always the same thing every day.
And they're having to cover about 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes each a week right now. And Christina and I are each doing an hour to 2 hours daily. So
Day.
if we can get some paras, that would be nice. Like I said, I'd like to do it, just for fun and be out there. It's been fun to get to know the kids and stuff, but it's hard on the days I have meetings. Then Christina has to try to find someone else to fill my spot and that kind of thing. So hopefully we get some people hired after this. So thank you for that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. ELC screening and testing program.
Okay, so this is the program that We met with the county health department Todd zoomed in, and Jason and I went over there and met with the county health department and our commissioners. So first of all, we'll just stick to the program for now, and then I'll talk about the other stuff in my updates. But this program is, and you have the whole information packet in here, but it is through DPHHS that we would apply, and we would be eligible for $45,000 that could be used for personnel, test kits, and supplies. And then we can decide. I listened to one of the webinars, and so that was helpful to hear how different school districts utilized this program last year. Lockwood, for example, is in a conservative community, and they didn't want to go there with testing students, so they just did it for staff. So you can choose staff or students, staff and students, that kind of thing. And it's definitely optional, so it's just for those who give consent to participate in screening or testing. At the school I was at last year, our county health department did the rapid tests. So if we had a student with symptoms, they would call the parents and ask them if they would like them to have a rapid test before they were coming to pick them up. Then we could administer the test, and so the nurse or the county nurse or I would administer the rapid test, and then at least you would know and have a little bit more quicker response time for quarantining others who needed to be, or that kind of thing. So that helped a little bit. And then the other part of this program is the screening. So there's kind of two pieces: the screening, random screening, or then there's the those who become symptomatic testing. And the nice thing about it, obviously, is depending on where you go right now, there's a delay in getting test results back. I know that the pharmacy sells out daily. I know you cannot purchase a rapid test in Helena at this time at any location. Walgreens, Walmart, they usually sell out in the first 20 minutes every morning, they've said. And they're about $30. And then I know that parents have shared that some of the clinics now are charging like $50 if you want your test results back within a timely manner, or those kinds of things. So it provides a free test to staff and students, a test at no cost. And the Binex rapid test, I did some research on, and it's considered effective. It's considered accurate now. The ones we had last year, we still had to send them to the lab, so it was kind of a pain, and I had to make sure parents understood that they were going to have to quarantine until we got the lab results back when we administered those. But this one is accurate to the point where that is the only test that they have to take, and the health department can work with the family based on the results of that test. So that's kind of the general overview of it. It would definitely be helpful to have this person here to deal with COVID things. It's taking a lot of our time as administrators. They could gather homework. So Mr. Rock's not doing that for half or more of his day. And they could be the one that coordinates and goes back and forth with the health department, which I'm currently doing. Our protocol right now is the health department goes through their morning report, and then around 9:30 we visit about any new cases, and then I do any contact tracing, kind of try to come up with quarantine orders. So that's kind of our back and forth right now. So this person could do that. So that would be the thing. The thing I think is important to note is that the health department would still have to be involved, because especially if this is a school personnel position, we still have no authority over quarantine orders. So, this person could be the one that's collaborating with the health department and could possibly be making some more phone calls. But we still, since House Bill 702, have to be very careful. And have been given legal advice not to be the ones to give quarantine guidance, and definitely don't have the authority to quarantine, or I can't enforce anything, which has come up a couple times where, people come to school that other students or staff or parents don't feel should be at school. But unless I have a quarantine order, I can't do anything about it, because for all I know, they're vaccinated and we're told they're cleared to be here. And I can't ask them if they are or not, or send them home unless I have a quarantine order. So we will still have to, work closely with the county health department and get those orders from them. So we sent out a survey. I emailed you guys kind of the survey draft that I was thinking of, and then Joe put it into a form to where we could send it out. And our results so far, we just sent it out to staff so far. Sorry, I'm trying to load it. I looked at it. It's loading. Let's see here. Oh, here it is. Okay. So, responses. We've had 51 responses from staff. It went out to all staff, not just teachers. So, would you participate as an employee in the random screening as a tool for early detection and prevention by taking the By Next Now rapid test? 64% said yes, and 35% said no. And then I know part of the screening concerns that were shared with me from staff were that if they do test positive, then what happens next? And if you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, what guidance will you get? And there's been a lot of conflicting and confusing guidance coming. So some people are told one thing and some are told another, and that's been a real challenge for us. And parents and staff are confused. So the CDC says that if you're vaccinated or non-vaccinated, test positive 10 days. But that's not what we're always seeing being recommended. So I think that's some of the concern, is just the inconsistency of the quarantine orders and that kind of thing. So would you participate as an employee in testing when becoming symptomatic at school as a tool for early detection and urgent isolation by taking the By Next Now rapid test? 78% said yes, and 21% said no. So staff are more inclined, and I would imagine we'd see similar results for families. It's definitely helpful when you have symptoms and you need to get tested to be able to do it right then and there. So that seemed to be favorable. And then I just wanted kind of the board's input before we put it out to families, if we should ask families the similar questions, or if you want to apply for it just for staff, or if you're not interested in it, just kind of wanted to find out where your thoughts were and how we should move forward.
I've got some questions about that. What's the accuracy of those tests? Say someone's symptomatic, they're coughing or whatever, and what's the accuracy of that? And my second question would be, if they decline the test, say we have a student who's symptomatic, who declines the test, do they quarantine then? Or is the test a way to, if they test negative, to get out of the quarantine, to not have to quarantine? How does that work when you're?
Yeah, those are great questions, and that's part of the confusion and inconsistent answers we've gotten. So that's part of, I think, some people's hesitancy. So it says that was lower when used to test specimens from symptomatic than from some, but specifically was high. Sensitivity was 92%. accurate, it looks like. So I was just trying to look that up.
That test is 92% accurate.
Mhm.
Wow.
It says it ranges from 92 to 78
Oh, so that'd be,
percent
You know, as
accurate.
you read those, you know, and I've tried to kind of stay up on those things, that the accuracy varies according to, you know, to say any test, whether it's one you take over here at the hospital or not, is going to vary. My understanding is it'll vary depending upon the amount of viral load you're carrying sometimes.
Yeah, that's
You know,
what it
if you
was
test
saying.
on the wrong, if you miss it by a day, that accuracy could vary greatly. And I think we've seen that down here with, not here, I don't mean here, but everywhere with these tests, that is that's one of the things that's problematic about it is accuracy of the tests. I believe they say though that it is, you know, I think it's good as any.
The way they word it is symptomatic and blah, 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 but it's from what I understood, it's one of the most accurate.
okay. So if you had,
So the
I guess,
thought.
you know, we'd have to work out how that would work.
Yeah,
as
and
far
I mean
as-
there's a huge training that this person goes through with DPHHS if we are awarded this.
Mhm.
And then all those guidelines are established, so there'd be a protocol established. My thought, I guess my hope for it with staff would be if someone was symptomatic, but we know it's, you know, like right now the smoke and there is a cold going around. If we can test them and it's negative, they can stay at work. We don't have to shut down a whole classroom. Right now, if we lose another teacher, we have to send all the kids home for that grade level or that grade because we don't have anybody else put in the classroom.
Right now, we're scrambling, trying to cover classrooms.
So if we were able to say that that teacher was negative and they didn't have to go and wait for a week to get test results, then they could keep teaching. We could keep that classroom open.
And
Is
we've
my
had some
hope
where they
for
test
it.
And it comes back invalid like a week later, and then we're starting all over.
Yeah. What about, returning to classroom after a positive test? Would you have to, and I guess this will come from the state, but you would have to get a negative test or you would have to wait so many days?
Right now,
So
it's,
DPHS, the state will tell us what those protocols and procedures are.
yeah,
Correct,
however,
in this program?
it's supposed to be coming from our local county health
health.
department.
Um,
And they said that they're following CDC guidelines. But there's, you know, been different versions come out from the
that's what's
CDC.
confusing.
So we've been going by the most recent CDC guidelines, which say, and most of the, I called the county health department in Park County and some other county nurses I know, and they're all saying 10 days, whether you're vaccinated or not, from a positive test. And then if you're vaccinated and if you're vaccinated and you're exposed, you just have to wear a mask and then you get tested in 3 to 5 days. If you're positive, I think you can test on day 7, and if it comes back negative, then you can return to work. So yeah, there's all those, I mean, there's a flow chart of if you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, and then all the things that come next.
So the guidance I was given by our county health last week was there is no need to test to prove negativity after a positive test, because that's one reason they say, if you're exempt from a quarantine, if you've been exposed, if you've been positive in the last 90 days, and she's told us that will possibly continue to test or continue to be positive for up to 90 days. So if you continue to hold somebody out with a positive, that's why they just put a
wait for a
time.
negative, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, that was a week ago, we were told that,
Mhm.
so that's the trouble I think people ran into earlier, like when this all started, of trying to be negative before they returned. And I heard horror stories of people that were.
Yeah.
continued to be
Which,
positive.
yeah, I think is really interesting. This is
Crazy.
a little bit of a sidebar, but if you look on the website about how all the different countries are handling it, in some countries, they're treating people that have had COVID the same as someone that's vaccinated, no matter how long ago it was, because you have those antibodies.
Mhm.
So, yeah, pretty interesting. I mean, there's still just so much research to be done.
So by accepting this or approving.
Applying for it.
We're applying for it.
Applying for the grant.
It's,
So
yeah.
when we get, when the grant comes back, hopefully we'll have more information before we actually accept the grant.
Yeah, it's not, and I don't know that it's a grant. I think Teresa was calling it a
She
grant,
was
but
calling.
yeah, it's an application
Application for funding, yeah.
for funding. Yeah, I guess that's a grant in some ways. But I think that pretty much everyone that applies for it will receive it, it
That's kind of
sounds
what I
like.
was thinking, so.
And then,
And I don't think it's dependent on doing the testing, correct?
it is.
It is dependent.
But we could
So
refuse
we can
it.
apply now and then see what the program is, if it's gonna be workable. If we have someone to run it, are you gonna be able to find someone, that
Well-
person to do the training and to
That's why I said if we could even hire someone to take the job.
do the application and then we'll work.
Yeah,
through it.
it'd be like a $40,000, somewhere around there, 30. I think, well, I'd have to work with Chrissy on how much it would actually cost the district with benefits and all that, but I imagine we'd be able to offer like around a $30,000 salary, something like that. So
Would it be full-time?
we could make it however we see fit. Yeah, so it'd be kind of building that.
And we looked
Position.
at sharing, like with the school nurse, not with Billings Clinic, but with the county. We looked at sharing a nursing position with them at one time. And it might be someone, maybe if work with one of the local hospitals to see if we could, I don't know how many hours a day it would take to do this. I'm sure it would vary,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe, do 15 hours a week or whatever, 10, 15, 20, whatever it turned out to be.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we've found. We had days last week where I think us administrators were overwhelmed and felt like we dealt with it all day. And then we've had days where it was like 20 minutes,
Sure.
no issues. So yeah, it definitely varies.
So right now, you're just looking for a motion to approve the application?
Yeah, and I guess your guidance on how you want to move forward with families. Do you want me to send out a survey to families to see how they feel about it? Or do you want to?
Sure. I don't see any problem with that.
I would agree. Yeah. I agree.
Okay.
Right. And then not to throw in, and all the CDC stuff that we talked about, of course, HB 702 kind of throws a wrench in all of that conversation as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was the big thing. Yeah. Yeah, was clarifying with the health department how we had to do things so different this year. And we were advised by our legal counsel, and we checked with BIA Calava, we checked with MTSBA, all the, school administrators in Montana. Schools cannot be making those phone calls this year because we cannot give any guidance.
And you can't treat anybody differently. If they've had COVID or vaccination or not, or whatever, you have to treat everybody the same way. And you can't, which really, when you think about then what the CDC and then therefore the health department and DPHHS is talking about, they're really to some extent at odds. So there's some confusion around that as well.
Well, like Brad said repeatedly, and we all agree, we're not the medical professionals.
Right.
That's just not,
Mhm.
that's not our training, that's not our, we try to stay on top of things as best we can because we have to know, we have to be in the know. But at the end of the day, that's not our profession, it's not our.
Well, but the CDC is saying do this in a certain way, and that's fine. And then the law says you can't. And there's where the conflict comes in.
I mean, the issue is, I probably should, I mean, the issue is one's a medical thing and one's a political thing. Plain and simple. There's no other two ways about that.
Oh, agreed. I'm not
So-
disagreeing.
You can't really compare the two and say, because one is based on medicine, one's based on politics, and that's just the absolute truth. That's the way House bills work. It's based on politics, and the CDC is exactly that, a medical organization. So it makes no sense to have two of them that conflict.
That conflict, I
The
agree.
bottom line is you're not doing what's best for people, one way or the other.
Well, agreed. I don't disagree.
I'm not getting on you.
No, but the issue around HB 702 is the liability in a lawsuit.
Correct, yes.
That's the issue around that.
And it's a shame.
It is, yeah. Yeah, I think it's something that was intended as well as intended as anything else, I don't know. But, just in practice, it's just not what it needs to be, in my opinion. Completely non-legal. I have no idea.
All right. Is there a motion on that?
Yeah.
I'll move to approve the submission of the ELC screening and testing program application to DPHHS.
A second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the submission of the ELC screening and testing program application to DPHHS. Any further discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Personnel resignation.
This is another gold watch. Karen's been here a long time.
Yes, she
Yeah.
has.
Holy cow.
I have a few notes.
Resignation of Karen Tillotson.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the resignation of Karen Tillotson. Is there any further discussion?
I just wanted to, publicly speak on Karen's behalf. She's just an incredibly cheerful, dependable, joyful person that we have in our building every day. We are gonna miss her dearly. She's pursuing some great things in her life and a big change for her, and we support her, and we're really excited and happy for her. But we will deeply miss her, and we appreciate everything she's done for all of us. We do, since this is being broadcast live, we have some top secret plans to make sure she knows how much we love her and appreciate her before she leaves on Thursday. So Thursday will be her last day. Students included.
Thank you, Sherry. It's been fun to see her work with students this fall, and this summer she came in and joined the summer custodial team, and I was excited to work closely with her, and she helped me get a lot of things cleaned out and organized, and so it was really nice to get to know her, and glad that we got to have her here.
She's a neat lady, and I don't know why, but I have 16 years in the para position in my brain. I might be really wrong on that. I'm not sure. We were having that discussion, how long, I think she's
It's been at least that.
at least, and so that might not be accurate, but it's been a lot of years.
Wow.
She's been here a long time, so, yeah.
That's
We love her
unusual.
and we'll miss her. but we're
Yeah,
happy.
and I would just say, Karen, if you're out there, that we've negotiated together, and it was a pleasure, and thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate working with you.
Any further discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Employment.
So we have Josh Leonard for a halftime assistant football coach at the high school. There was just some reorging there. And then we have substitutes Desiree Taves. She's been a huge help. She can only substitute for a short term, but we've been taking her every minute we can. And Macy Hines, am I saying that right? Hines? Okay. And then she is our interpreter substitute. And we were super lucky to end up with an interpreter and a substitute. She's a nice young lady that drives over from Helena to sub as a interpreter when needed. So we're very happy for that. So we can fulfill that IEP, and the student that needs that support has it. And then activity bus driver Nicole Austin And we have another para that we were just recently able to hire, and it is Emily Williams. Thank you. I'm like looking for my sticky. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Is she also an interpreter?
What was
Is
that?
she also an interpreter?
No.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna move to approve Desiree Taves and Macy Hens as substitutes, and Emily Williams as a substitute, and Josh.
As a para.
A para. And Josh Leonard as a .5 assistant coach, and Nicole Austin as bus driver. Did I get that right?
I think the one thing we gotta add on the pair is pending the background.
Oh, yes, thank
Okay,
you.
okay.
It is in the works.
Okay, it's in the works, okay. Pending a background.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Desiree Taves and Macy Hens as substitutes, Josh Leonard as halftime assistant football coach, is that, yeah, football coach, and Nicole Austin as bus driver, and Emily Williams as paraprofessional pending successful background check.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Policy review.
Okay, so I'm gonna plug in, I wanna show you guys a few things on our policies. Hopefully I can do this. The new conference rooms are gonna be awesome in the new school. We might have to think about meeting over there sometimes, and maybe I'll have a Promethean board over there. Okay.
We will be enlightened, I'm sure.
As that's getting fired up, it's really great to hear that the project is moving forward and things are coming together, and it's really great to hear that.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I know Christina was really excited. Brad didn't show, wasn't doing any jumping jacks, but they were deciding on whose office would be whose, and it's just cool. You can start to
It's
see
gonna
the
be cool.
spaces.
Brad just said as
you know.
far away from the door as I can get.
Are we building a basement?
There you go.
I said something about having him a tunnel on the way out.
While there, she's getting into that too, just if you don't mind me going back to my comments just a minute ago. I certainly did not mean to imply that one side or the other is wrong. What I'm referencing, I guess, is the difficulty that the people on the ground are having in implementing and give guidance to people that need it, and I think that's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of, and I couldn't tell you, because again, I'm not either one of those entities, but it's just very conflicting, and it's, everybody that deals with it's in a hard spot, trying to do what they think is right, but it's made it difficult to
Yeah.
I agree.
deal with this. I think for everybody,
Yeah.
I know definitely here at the school, but I think all the way around.
Well, and even at that, and you have the conflicting HB 702 and then the CDC guidelines. And then even those CDC guidelines, that they're fairly dynamic as well. And you
That's
just.
a good word.
I mean, they're hard.
And not totally apolitical.
For-
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. That's probably not a fair statement to say that one's medical and one's completely political, because I don't know that anything anymore is.
It is not
really hard to tell.
Yeah. The CDC, and I think in my own mind, there's a fair share of politics that are associated with that as well.
We like to think everybody is doing what they think is the right thing, but boy, it's really unfortunate it's become
The right thing for who may be the question.
But anyway, I just wanted to clarify that. I was not trying to say one side was wrong, one was necessarily right.
Oh, and I understand that completely, and
Or that you were.
I have the same frustration around that.
All right, now for the fun stuff, policies. I'm kind of a policy geek, so I have been jumping into this. But I was very scared because I saw we had none of our COVID policies in our COVID policy folder, but Jason showed me where they were. They are in our documents section of our website. So I was glad to know that we do have COVID policies formally adopted and uploaded. I just didn't know where they were. So, which has been part of my challenge is I have to do my job. I have to reference our policies and they're what leads me, right? There are our legal guidance and everything else and how we implement and handle situations at school ranging from discipline to personnel. So when I need to find a policy, it's very challenging because you click on one of these and then, let me see here, you scroll and you just have to read every heading. Can't search at all or anything. There's no table of contents, so I don't know where to go.
Aren't those PDFs though?
They are,
So,
Aren't they searchable PDFs? Can't you search them?
nope, you cannot search on these. So
So they're just
I
images.
was, so let me get there. I have your answer coming. So I was very frustrated by that and not being able to find, like, I need to find homeschool, some information on policies on homeschool students. So Joe combined them into a searchable PDF for me. So now I can Control F and say suicide. For example, we have this policy that references suicide. So now I can do some searching. We still no table of contents or anything like that. So Melinda has been building a table of contents for us. And the other thing she's been doing is putting the year of the last review. So she's putting the policy number, and then I'll show you here in TSBA. Let me see where I have it pulled up. Okay, so if we go to model policies, but say we go to school district policies. I like to choose East Helena because they've had consistent leadership and their policies seem to be pretty up to date. So this is how they are presented, and it says required, recommended, or optional for each of their policies. So then we know, if it's something that we have to have, we chose to have, that kind of thing. I like the way that they had their table of contents like that. So I asked Melinda to try to put those labels next to them, and then the policy number, and then the title of it, and then when it was last reviewed. So that's what we've been working on. And then, like I said, Joe made the searchable one. So I can, because I really need to reference these, multiple times a day to make sure I'm following the policies and procedures you guys put into place. And then on here, I can Control F and I can find, it'll show me in the table, in the cross references, and then it'll show me every time, which now I can do on the one that Joe combined them all together for. But I don't know how I could ever direct someone on our website to a particular policy. Or someone would be able, like a parent would be able to look up, where it's really nice in these formats where people can look. So, and then what we're finding is so that was kind of the basic, just what I wanted to show, kind of how this is functional and usable for those, working in it, and also parents or others. You can go in and click on the school, and then you can search and see the table of contents and go through all the policies. So it's kind of nice when you're working in a district and you can refer parents right here. But like we talked about before, that's a $4,000 option. So what we've been talking about is how can we make it more functional in-house. So Joe created the searchable document, and then, thank you, Joe. And then Melinda's been working on the table of contents. And then one thing that I was real concerned about is if we had policies that are required that we don't have, or those kinds of things, since we don't have, any overseeing that, like these organizations that do that or legal counsel. We do have policies that we're missing that are required, like suicide prevention policies that came out of the session before last, so 2 sessions ago. We have policies that still haven't been adopted that were required to be adopted, which makes me nervous. So Elizabeth Clava said for $750, she would go through our policies and make sure we have all the required ones. And then also, if you don't have a policy in place, then for example, if it's a personnel issue, anything in your handbook trumps policy and in general. So the other thing she thought would be really important is to make sure that our handbook is aligned properly to our policies.
The student handbook has precedence over the policy? That seems backwards. That
If
seems
you-
upside down.
Yep, because it's your public facing document,
Oh, okay.
and that has come out in
We
court.
have the policy on the website.
Yep. Because it's the one that you've distributed more.
Handed that to everybody and said, read it, learn it.
Sign off.
So that takes precedent. And so a lot of districts, she's seen issues where you have conflicting information in staff or student handbook to the policies, the handbook trumps it.
So
So,
we should reconcile that to make sure that.
yes, so she's recommending that she review our handbooks in contrast with our policies and make sure they align properly and we have, what we want, what we're intending to do will occur in those if needed in any situation. And then so those were some of my concerns. And then I figured out where you guys left off before all the COVID things occurred was at the 2,500 policy level. And that was last reviewed. That was in 2019, around then when you stopped doing that kind of however many policies a meeting. And then we found a range of policies from 2006. There's policies from 2006. There was one from 1997. So just worried. And I asked MTSBA, I think it's 7, what is it, every?
Well,
I wasn't sure on how many years you have to have them reviewed
I think
and
it's 5,
updated.
isn't it?
I thought it was, for some reason, I've always thought 3, but.
I
it seemed like
think
we were on a
3, 5, or
3-year
7.
cycle before, but I don't know where that.
Yeah, so there's quite a few that are out of date.
Could you look at our old board minutes? Because our old board minutes would show the policies that when they were reviewed. I don't know if the little footnotes on the little footers on there are accurate or not.
Yeah. So that's the
But
thing is
we were
it's-
going through them on whatever cycle it was. So. anyway.
Yeah, it's usually 3 or 4 a meeting, or 2 or 3 a meeting, and we did that fairly consistently up through, even through COVID.
Yeah, we were still doing some. We kind of backtracked, because we had the disciplinary ones that we kind of kept, or focused on there.
And those were the
for a while.
3,000.
But I think our old
Yeah.
board agendas would have that.
Yeah.
Should have the, going back to when I started.
When they were updated though on the actual.
When they were
policy.
reviewed.
Wouldn't it say last reviewed or?
Yeah, I don't know if those are updated. I mean, that's the
Oh,
that's the
I see
question.
what you're saying.
We've reviewed it, but it didn't get updated.
Oh.
So then
Yeah.
I
I get
have
what
to
you're
find
saying.
each of those packets and then try to find the version that you guys adopted.
Mm.
That's a fishing trip.
Because
Well, but-
trying to make this table of contents, yeah, Melinda has spent 2 full days and we've gotten in, 2 sections done so far.
But we'll take a look at timestamps on the files though, so that you would
Yeah,
know when
yeah, that
when
would
the
be-
policies
if it
were
was
actually
On the
edited.
files.
On the files, yeah, on the policy files themselves. take a look at the timestamps, because the timestamps should say when they were last
Date
modified.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. We have ones from 2006.
Don't doubt that. I'm
Yeah.
not surprised. I'm not surprised.
So I'm,
Well, if they were never revised, that's where it would be.
Exactly.
yeah.
But anything revised that would have a newer
So
timestamp.
we wouldn't know if we ever reviewed it. Right? What are you laughing?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out, so I just kind of wanted to share with you, this is an important project for me because like I said, I need to be able to find these policies to reference, to give parents guidance, to handle personnel issues, all those kinds of things. And first I couldn't find them. And then so now we've got a few things, so we're making progress. But then to be able to get these revised, we're gonna have to start hammering out. To get up to date, we're gonna have to start doing some hard work.
I would just suggest, just a thought, because you guys are driving, doing all this stuff, but if a person were to go ahead, and those are probably Word docs that they're actually listed in initially, so that you can do the editing around that, or Google Docs, probably Word docs. And if you go out to the folder that those are in, you can take a look, you can change the date and see what are the most recent timestamps on those files. And then cross-reference that with the particular policy and when it was updated. That would seem to be, in my mind, just kind of the quickest way to go about that, because you can rearrange according to timestamp.
No, I think that you're gonna run into trouble with doing that though, because if your policies say the 100 series and the whole 100 series is that file, and you only updated one part of that policy, like say the first.
Well, but are all the policies in one file?
Yes.
Because that's typically not what you would want to see at all.
Right, but that's the way our thousands are all in one.
They're all in one-
2000s are all
In
Yeah.
one file.
in one file.
No, that's problematic to begin with. That should never have happened. I'm serious. It's just not the way you drive it. Okay.
I think my biggest concern is, well, first of all, me being able to find the policies so I can do my job. The second concern is the really important policies we don't have, which could put us in some legal challenges.
No, the stuff, when you have Bia take a look at that, would we then get those policies though as separate docs then? Is that part of what she would do as well?
Well, I'm not sure. I need to talk to her a little bit more about it. It sounded like the 750 was, she was thinking it would take her 3 or 4 hours to figure out what we're missing. And that was about the 750. And maybe she could fit the handbook cross-referencing into that. But her policy service, she charges for, just like MTSBA charges for a policy service. So that would probably be additional, I'm guessing. We could, once I knew which ones were missing, I could find the model policies for those, and then we could start with those as our priority for getting those put in place. And that was hard. One of the other things, like there was a couple that I thought we should work on and I wanted to include in this meeting, but then like the model policy number for it was 3130 and we already have a 3130 that's called something else. So it doesn't align with the organizations that are setting out the model policies. We have conflicting numbers. So, but there's a lot under the Every Student Succeeds Act. A lot of these things changed, and the legislation we've had in Montana the last 2 sessions, there was a lot of important education bills. So I wanted to make sure we had our policies straight for military families, homeless, foster care, suicide prevention, and those kinds of things. So I'm just trying to figure out, it's a bit tricky. And Joe and Melinda have been a big help. We're trying to kind of figure out how we can do it in-house and work through it. So I guess the one thought is, are you okay with me starting with Bia then to figure out what we're missing?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
And then we'll see what we can do to create a system, unless you guys want to move forward with BIA or MTSBA at some kind of system where they maintain it. See that, like, did you see how they had each one separate, like you were talking about? Ours isn't like that, so we'd kind of have to start over and try to build a workable system and on our network.
And you can build bookmarks and some of those things into it, but they should be separate pieces. They should be separate files. You know, I mean, in the way that's, in my mind at least, in the way that you think about that kind of documentation and archiving that kind of documentation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the table of contents will be helpful. It might help Bia to do it quicker, to know what we have and don't have. And then I put the COVID policies on there, and I think we should continue to do that for each meeting in case we do have some kind of surge in COVID cases. And I want the board to always be able to look at those and revisit the options. We're currently on mask optional, so just want to keep those policies there, and for, you know, guests coming into the school and those kinds of things. So if something were to happen in the community or within the school and we needed to change any of those policies, we could. So that was my main point for putting them on there tonight. So we can keep talking, and I don't know if we want to, you know, committee to work on kind of policy direction or that kind of thing, but I just wanted to let you know where we were at with it. And then I think the main thing is just if you want to keep our COVID policies as they are, or if you wanted to update or make any changes to those tonight.
Is there any need to make any changes tonight? Everything's going okay according to policy? You know, Jason's just smiling. How do I take that, Jason? How do I take
I guess
this?
before we move on to that, I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah.
on the policy thing, I think it's okay that we have BIA catch us up and get us current. Is that correct, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm.
And I think as
Do we
far
need to
as,
vote on that?
well, we don't really have it as an action item, so I don't know if we can. But I think next month, I think we need to put that policy review, put that decision on an action item and have that discussion.
Okay.
You know, have those options laid out, and we need to make that decision again. I know we've discussed it before, but I really think we need to look at it again.
Yeah, to enter into a contract of that amount, we don't necessarily need action from the board, but I know that this is something important and close to the work of the board and that you guys are passionate about. So I just wanted to talk about it. And
I think getting those required ones and making sure we're in compliance, I think that's
a great first step.
Yeah.
okay.
And then we'll look at, I think we need to look at the different policy services and make that decision next month.
Yeah, because part of that's around who houses the policies and accessibility of the policy and accessibility as well.
And they keep those recommendations more in front of us, you know, whoever's doing that as the laws change or as things change. Okay, now on to the COVID stuff. Obviously, the mask debate is still going. You know, they're probably going to allude to it in a second, but, you know, cases are up. You know, we've had to do contact tracing, or the county has done it. The first week, there was a great deal of frustration in that. That meeting last week, I think, helped things. I don't think it's fixed it, but I think it's helped. So I think that's the question of having it on there is, you know, us as board members, if, you know, community input, if you feel like what we're doing is the right thing to do, if anybody feels we need to make a change, I think that's why we have that on there. So,
Exactly. Yeah, we've had, you know, positive students and staff We have had little pockets, I'd say pockets of it here and there, and been able to handle that. And the administrators have done a ton of work to move staff around to plug holes because we don't have any extra people to help, really, especially being short-staffed with paras. Usually we could put them in a spot when a teacher's gone or that kind of thing. So everyone's been working really hard to make that work and, gather the homework for the kids that are out, either quarantine or positive, that kind of thing. And then we've figured out a system with the health department. Before Labor Day weekend, we had only had one positive student that we were notified about from the health department, or family, I should say. And then after that, we got into a system. So after the meeting, we got it established, that protocol that I was talking about, where each morning we check in and get the ball rolling. And so that's been going well. Like I said, concern is if we have, staff that are positive and then could have to send the classroom home, that kind of thing, because of lack of staff. And without masks on, potentially the whole class could be close contact because they're all in that room together and working closely together. So that's kind of how they're handling it. I know in Livingston, they're not wearing masks either. And so if someone's positive in the classroom and they weren't wearing a mask and everyone was working closely socially together, not social distancing, then the whole class is close contact. So we haven't had any situations like that yet, and we're just working closely with the health department to get the names to the students of the students or others that were exposed as best we can, so that those families are notified. And then if there's any family that has a medical concern, a high-risk student, some of those parents have reached out to me, and I'm more than willing to be open and honest with them and let them know if there's any positive cases in their classroom or that kind of thing, so that they can make the decisions they need to for their at-risk students.
And I think to some degree, people are, I know my experience over the high school is that I feel like for the most part, there are a few things here or there, but for the most part, parents are being pretty responsible to call in and say, I'm keeping my kid home. We're worried. We probably are going to go be tested or whatever. I feel like they're doing what we've asked them to do for the most part. There are a few situations. Today was great, but there are a few situations where it's like, oh my goodness. But for the most part, I think people are trying. I've seen a lot of people, as we say, masks are optional, whatever people want to do. I see a lot of students wearing masks. I see a lot of. We've had people show up at activities in their masked up. I think people are doing with their comfort level of what they're comfortable with for the most part. Some of us had a couple of scares when we had some situations in the school, and of course we're modeling and doing the right thing, and wearing, doing what we're supposed to be doing and following. And so, in general, I think it could be a lot worse than it is. This is not our first rodeo, and we've established a pretty good system for, how we can handle this. And now we're just trying to redefine that with county health. And I think we're making gains. It is getting better. I asked my staff if they had questions or any concerns, and honestly, they had nothing this morning. They felt like, Susie's done a good job sharing where we've ended up with things and how things have been going as far as what the protocols are and with the staff. And I think they really appreciate that. So they're in the loop and in the know of how we're supposed to handle this stuff, because it has changed completely from what we were doing last year. So kind of where I am with it.
So per the policy though, it sounds like staying the course at this point in time at least is appropriate.
Yeah, and I think there should be enough latitude in that policy. If we do get a surge of cases, you can, I don't know if we need a special meeting or something to address any additional protocols we want to adopt.
Okay, yeah, agreed. I was just gonna share, I know that Sheridan School, my brother-in-law is the superintendent down there, they actually shut down for a week because they just had, of course, how many kids do they have in school? And so they had like 5 kids left that were non-COVID-y or close contact. It was a close contact thing. So they shut down for a week, and I know that we're all dealing with those things, so.
And there's schools that are fighting, you know, the ones that did impose mask mandates, you know, they're fighting it on the other side. you know,
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
litigation. In some
Yeah,
cases.
yeah, there are, yeah.
Yeah, I know the middle school, we had a third of our students out at one point in time. So, you know, it's definitely concerning, but hopefully we can keep kids here and keep staff here and keep educating. So,
Question that nobody knows is, you know, are we gonna continue to increase, or are we getting close and maybe we'll start to dip back?
Yeah.
yeah, when we had our meeting with the county health department, they shared with us that they're about at the peak that they were last year at the highest amount of cases in our
In
county.
our county,
Mhm.
so those kids that are out, are those, some just close contact, some are actually testing positive, or are they all testing positive to be?
No, some of them are close contacts, and then a lot of people choose not to test. So they might have been in close contact and chose not to test. Some people are doing the home tests, and then we just start kind of trying to track them if they're in extended absence, because we may or may not hear anything from the family or the health department. So it's really hard because it's all over the board this year. Yep. And there is a bad cold going around. We have gotten lots of negative tests back as well.
Well, the issues with the smoke and allergies this time of year, and it's
Right.
been bad, yeah. And all the symptoms are the same, you know, quite honestly, a lot of the symptoms are the same.
Which we still, you know, that I don't mean to say that to tell people not to still do what they're supposed to do, because that causes problems. Even if it's a cold, you know, you need to take the precautions and you should not come to school and that kind of thing. We're really, really asking people to please stay home, students and staff, if they have any symptoms.
And like I said, I think, you know, I think a lot of families and most families and parents, they're erring on the side of caution. And that's helpful to me, that people really are taking it seriously and erring on the side of caution and just making sure that things are okay. So that's appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with what Sherry said. I think one of the things that our parents have expressed frustration to me about is the, you know, not knowing what to do. And so I think, you know, we talked about earlier, some of the conflicting information and requirements. And so, you know, right or wrong, I think parents always have kind of relied on teachers or administrators, whoever, to say, man, my kids, what do you think? Should I, you know, and we always err when in doubt, keep them home. And I think that I think the single biggest thing that could happen is for all those entities we referred to earlier, coming up with some, you know, getting on the same page so that parents and people do know what is expected of them and what they need to do. And, you know, sometimes you feel like you're not, you know, our standard response is you have to contact your medical provider or county health, which is the way it should be. But it's just, I think, just kind of those no answers we can't provide. No, I mean, honestly, I don't know if anybody can provide them.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
they're
a
out
guess.
there into the
As you
mess.
said earlier, there's who knows, you know, agenda of whoever's doing what, and it's a guess, I think, and I think everybody's, you know, we trust that the people telling us what to do are making their best guess of it, and it's been a trying week, I know that.
2 weeks, I guess.
And then the other part of that too is what are the recommendations for urban areas versus rural areas? And there's a whole different, set of situations, generally speaking, just around, it's one size does not fit all necessarily. So that, that's part of the issue, I think, that becomes more complicating.
Right, just like the mask situation, Senator Daines wrote a letter into the CDC, but it just doesn't make any sense what we're doing with that in Montana right now.
On the
Not-
buses.
Yeah, because they're wearing the masks on the bus and then taking them off and all being together. So yeah, it's just obviously everyone's not on the same page, which makes it challenging. But yeah, so I don't think that there's necessarily anything we really need to do tonight. If you guys are comfortable with keeping things the same, I just want to make sure that we have that on the agenda and have that ability to make changes if we need to.
Yeah, I guess, the biggest thing we need to make sure that we're educating or keeping the kids educated in the best way possible. So if we do get in a situation where we're sending too many home and struggling not to complete that, I think that's when we need to step back and make sure that if we got to change, how we're delivering that to make sure that we keep the kids moving forward. Okay. All right. Does that cover the COVID protocol updates as
Yeah.
well?
It does.
Okay, we'll go to principal's report. Christine?
Skip over the rest of them. Christine's first.
So just a couple of things, the ice cream social, we had the 27th, I think, was the last week of August. And great turnout, we did things a little bit different based on the comfort of each grade level. So some of them had things where they just had the teacher, the parents and students walk through and then enjoy some ice cream on their way out, and others started outside and then moved on in. Did visit with everyone at the last staff meeting to ask for some pros and cons. And so they had some great suggestions on things they'd like to see change in that in the future, maybe have it earlier, like the first day of our PIR day, like Monday, have it that evening so that it's actually before school, more of an open house where the kids can bring their things in, get those first day jitters out of the way. So we'll look at that again next year before we, next spring before we schedule our fall ice cream social. Scheduling and construction has been great lately. We've been able to use the cut through, so that's helped a lot with moving kids back and forth. Susie's not putting as many steps in right now, back and forth there. But I know we'll have dates here and there, but the construction company's been really good working with us on cutting through the middle there, so our kids are safer. And then schedules, because we are still, dealing with some of those times that it's cutting into some of our education time, but it's getting better. So I think once the kids are also used to it, it's not cutting in as much time.
You got them running now.
Yeah, well, they are, yeah. Susie tried slowing them down today. I'm like, oh, let them run it out.
Yeah. Running through the construction, I'm like, no! When they have the lime green paint on the walls, it's the worst day.
Right now, so we're good. So the reading curriculum, where we are on that, working on getting some time for our staff members either to Zoom in or actually attend another school district where they can see a couple of options in action. They really want to get moving on one of these, and hopefully within the next week or so we can get everyone scheduled to see that in action and actually pick one, adopt one, where then we can get training set up in January and start rolling forward with the new reading program. I know everyone, they're cornering me all the time, excited to get that going. So that's really good to see that they're really ready to take on a new program and take the time to do it. So, and then about short staffed. So hopefully this, I really appreciate you guys doing that today of approving those extra duty stipends. And so that we can get some more people here, because I know we have lost people over the years because of pay, and we were also not able to get people hired because of pay. So I'm hoping this will help us a lot and give us a little more, actually be in competition with other places instead of just not even a close chance. Because right now our sub list is shrunk a lot. We don't have very many people on our sub list, and and so we just don't have enough bodies to cover what we need right now with activities. I mean, by the time we get activities on there, there's just not enough left to cover any illnesses. So hopefully this will help.
So I think most of what needs covered has been said about 100 times in this meeting, but the construction impacts, I just would like to say that, you can't have a construction project without some inconveniences and noise, but the people working in the school have been very accommodating to us and what we're trying to accomplish educationally, and they've worked almost a lot of times. You just don't even realize they're there a lot of times, and it's been very good. And I just wanted to let everybody know that they've been, it's clear they've worked in schools a lot, know what's going on. So it's all gonna be worth it. Class sizes and scheduling issues, we are, one grade level in particular, we're running into some very large class sizes, and still trying to find some desks and things like that to accommodate everybody. But it's working out. We've got it scheduled. We're under the requirement, we're meeting requirements in all areas. And I think we did gain a couple new students just this week, not uncommon this time of year. But I think we've got the schedule pretty well where it needs to be, students where they should be, and getting all the kids everything they need. Which leads me to speech services. We've had a lot of students. We don't have a lot by the time they get to middle school. But speech is a very common service that many students receive in our district. And we do that through the co-op. And so there's a little different, we have some different people in our building this year, and we're delivering those through some teleservices through Prickly Pear that they have contracted out. Like, I think everybody on the planet, they're having, hard to get people in all the positions they need. But I think we've got all that lined out. Prickly Pear has reached out, and there's people in the school now and doing that. So we're getting there. As far as item number 1, the makeup work, students missing, Ms. Hedlund referred to the number of students we had out over last week. We averaged 37%, I believe, for the week, absentee rate in the middle school, which is, it's a challenge in a lot of different ways. One, first and foremost, it's challenging for those students. And I feel for the students that we have to be in that position, and we're trying our very best to reach out with them. So what we're doing is when they first leave, we're trying to get their work together for them for the immediate day or two, and then trying to indicate on there the teachers will reach out through Google Classroom and all the online means that we have. I think we can do that fairly successfully. We can, there's been some confusion with contacting kids, not knowing always when students will be able to return and who exactly is gone, because sometimes there's one day we had to send a whole bunch home and there was some confusion. I think it's also difficult on teachers as they try to track that and what assignments have gone home and how to best reach their students. And I just don't know, in my experience, when we're doing a remote learning environment, hit and miss. You know, it was different when we went to remote learning, and this is the way we are delivering it. It's difficult. It's a sudden change for students. It's just, you know, we try to make it as smooth as we can, but it's just, to me, obviously, I'm a public school guy, it's not the same as being here in the classroom. I just think it puts a lot of people in a difficult position. So we're doing the best we can. The parents, I would say, have been very, very good and very helpful in helping us get things done and very cooperative. So I appreciate that. And we're trying to do it. I think now that we kind of have the protocol, as you guys referenced your meeting earlier, now that there is the quarantine protocol kind of in place, that will help, I think, tremendously to help us decide who needs to be gone and who's not. And the poor ladies in the office are just inundated with extra work. You know, all of that leads to extra work for everybody, parents, students, teachers, office personnel who are trying to get work to people, keep track of who's here and who's not. And they've done a really, really good job. And I think Sherry said that most parents are doing really just, our mantra has kind of been, we're just asking people there on the side of caution. If you think you need to stay, keep them home, keep them home. We can always get them caught up. So that's where we're at. It's been, you know, aside from the obvious, it's been, there were a lot of very good things that happened at the beginning of the year. We got off to a pretty good start. The construction was not nearly, middle school wise, obviously it's a little different for the other grade levels, but it has not been a big issue for us, and it was probably, I'd say, a very successful start to the school year. So it's good. And I really do hold out that it's going to improve. I'm very hopeful that this is like we went through last winter, where we had some very rough weeks and then it would kind of come down. And I think we just all got to be positive a little bit and hope that it does that. And I think it will. And things will smooth out, and we're learning how to live with it a little better.
All right. It's a good segue. My first thing was just the start of the first few days. Felt like it was incredibly smooth, went pretty well. Teachers, staff, students, everybody did an awesome job just coming in. I think they were excited to be back. We lost a few students over the course of the last year, but we gained several. So the last time I checked, I think we were at 208 in the high school, which is up from where we were before. Happy to see all those remote students come back. And even though some of them were a little hesitant, it seems like now they're like they never left. They're blending back in for most of them. We did, there are a few that are struggling with having to transition back into being in person every day, but most kids, I think, are pretty happy to be back. So it's been nice to have everybody here. The activities are all underway, and other than a few hitches in our get along last week with a few things, a few cancellations, our programs are performing very, very well. Cross country's off to a very strong start. Football's off to a very strong start, and they're pretty excited, I think, to play in Washington Grizz Stadium on Saturday. So I'd encourage everybody to go down, as we were kind of saying earlier before the meeting started, that it might be a little echoey in there, as big as that is. So it'll be fun for them. Game's at 1 o'clock on Saturday. So if you need something to do, I think it'd be a fun day. And our volleyball team is performing incredibly well on their first 2 tournaments, and even with some of their challenges last week, they came out strong last night against Jefferson with only 1 practice early in the morning in a whole entire week. And they are, super resilient. And I think if anything's come out of everything we went through last year and some of the challenges we've had this year, I just see a really big resiliency in kids. I think they understand not everything's going to be perfect, and we might have to figure some things out. And I see a lot of positive attitudes and just dealing with that and rolling with punches that get thrown at them, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, to learn a little resiliency, so happy with that. Mrs. Dick worked her tail off. As you guys know, as we talked last meeting, most of the kids had changes to their schedule when they hit the high school. Again, students were awesome about it. They knew it had to be that way, and it actually went pretty smoothly. I know Callie worked really, really hard to get those kids in their classes. We're facing some of the things that Brad is as well. We have some really full classes. We're at max actually in some of our freshman classes with some of our sections, but we got everything balanced out fairly well. Some of our classes are light, some are heavy. Most of the core classes are pretty full. So we're looking at trying to make some of those changes and balance that out. Staffing, we've heard a lot about, echo the same things in the high school. Probably it's not as extreme as it is, for elementary and middle school in some places, but if we're down 1 or 2 people, we're struggling to cover like everybody else is. So we just hope that we can stay above the board there. I appreciate everybody's patience with everything from, the high school teaching staff's been amazing, and the kids have been really, really great and real patient with everything as we try to even everything out. So, and activities are rolling. We have, I'm a little bummed we had to miss the Egg Olympics tonight and the FFA harvest dinner. I hope it was a great fun, and I hope they had some good attendance there. They did have to relocate it to the lodge. They were going to do the fairgrounds, and then fire camp is still at the fairgrounds. We had to make a last minute shift, so the lodge was really nice to let us have that facility as well, since we're facing everything with our construction. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up on the 28th, 312 anyways, 312 parent-teacher conferences. We have homecoming week is the week of October 4th, and student council, Mrs. Lampman took that over this year, and Mrs. Schaefer's helping her with transitioning for that role too, and we've all been working together on planning a real fun homecoming week, again, for our students. The kids are excited. They want to really roll back to just traditional things they've been doing, and so we'll probably see, hopefully, parade on Main Street again and some floats, and they're just kind of wanting to roll back to traditional homecoming, so they're excited for that. We're working on those plans as we speak. And then picture day, the 30th. It took us forever to get that scheduled, but we're there. So one other side note, we hired our new custodians in the high school. That already has just been awesome. And so many daily staff compliments on the job they're doing and how thorough they are. Their work ethic and their motivation is incredible. They're just asking where they can help and what they can do, and they're doing a really great job. And even just after our first few activities, that has been great to come into a really nice, clean school and not just be trying to scramble to get everything done. So I appreciate that. That's been great so far. So we're happy with that. And they're doing a great job.
All right. So, I really have enjoyed the start of the school year as well. And thanks to all of the principals and others who helped kind of kick off with those fun days. Tech days were great, and we had a fun scavenger hunt and all those kinds of things. So we had a lot of fun, and everyone is excited to be back, with the kids and at school. So and I know Christy was excited, and we were anxious all summer to see their little faces back. So we're excited to have the kids here and just get to be in school. So under the Every Student Succeeds Act, the law changed. So we have to have a foster care point of contact and a homeless liaison that are separate, can't be the same person. So, and we need to have the superintendent appoints those, and they need to be posted on our website. So I am going to be the foster care point of contact, and Miranda Howells is going to be the homeless liaison. She has her administrative certification, and so I thought it'd be a good thing I could support her in getting some training on and an added responsibility for her to take on. So we're gonna work really hard to make sure we have all of those students identified. It's important to have those numbers straight because it makes us eligible for different grants and opportunities. And also we receive funding that those students, and supports those students are then eligible for. And, you know, a lot of people are living in campers and those kinds of things right now. A lot of the new people to our communities, while they're trying to build houses or those kinds of things, that's considered homeless. We have families living at the hotels. Those are homeless families. If families are living with another family, so if two families are in the same household, that's homeless. If you have a trailer that is not skirted, that's homeless. So just want to make sure that we have all of that accurate, and then that we're providing all the resources that we're supposed to those families. They have extra transportation rights and all different kinds of things. That's a big thing under that we've seen a shift in under ESSA. So excited to help Miranda make sure we have all those families identified, and then that we're offering them everything we can. The home language survey is something that is required. We will next year have it in our registration packets. This year we're going to send it out to all of our students, send it home with all of our students. So if a student speaks English but they have family members, even a grandmother in the house that speaks another language, it's a language of impact for them, and it can affect their verbs and different things. And so we should be screening any of those students with a language assessment and then seeing if they qualify for services. And so I want to make sure that we're doing that. We're supposed to do that within the first 14 days of school. So we'll be a little bit behind this year, but we'll have it in place and make sure that's part of our regular program in the future. We do have some new families that the students speak English, but the parents don't, for example. So we want to make sure we have those English learners, even if they speak English, they can qualify. And that's how we can have that support and those funds to make sure we have interpreters for those meetings and that kind of thing. We already went over policies. The DPHHS Power Up Speak Out program, there's a flyer about it in your packet, and Mr. Rock is working with middle school teachers to see kind of if that program, if we want to participate in that or not. And they're wanting a lot of access to a lot of student data, which could be challenging for some families, whether they want to participate in that or not. So it's a lot of strings attached for the $500 for the program. I don't know how good the program is. I think speaking to some other schools that are doing it might help. I don't know if you have anything else to say, Brad.
Oh, I think you're exactly right. The data that they want is anonymous, much like but still it's sometimes concerning how much that's shared. It's basically the same information we get from another survey that we already do. But yeah, we'll just try to make some decisions as to whether or not we think that is a benefit to us or not, and to our students.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot like the at-risk student.
Yeah, it is.
survey.
It's the
Okay.
youth risk behavior
The youth risk
survey. And
behavior,
it's-
yes, okay.
The way I understood it, very close to the same thing. They would have access to that data, which is anonymous. There's but we'll see. It's also another testing period, there's a lot of things that have a ripple effect. So
Yeah.
We'll discuss it and try to make some good decisions.
And the curriculum that they offer, the program, the training is like 4 sessions for middle school students about like avoiding violence and kind of some prevention.
Yeah, I mean, I think good things, but can we do them in other ways?
Yeah. So we're going to take a closer look at that, and just wanted to show you guys how we got that offer from DPHHS. So we'll keep looking into that. I wanted to mention that I will be at the Board of Public Ed this Thursday and Friday. As the staff knows, that's on our calendar. And so I'll be reviewing licenses. We have a lot of new people coming into Montana that we're taking a look at their licenses to see if they qualify in Montana or not, revoking some licenses in certain circumstances. And then it's a really good opportunity. We get all of the federal updates, and so I get to make sure I'm in the current on all of our federal information. Like I just said, with the homeless and foster care programs, we have an assessment portion, so we'll be getting all the updates on how assessments are going to be handled this school year. So that'll be valuable. So I look forward to bringing back information on that, and just really glad that you guys are allowing me to participate in that as a professional. I think it's great that we have a local voice there and someone that's actively a superintendent in the state. So I appreciate being able to participate on that board. On November 11th and 12th, I signed up for Elizabeth Calava's Law Conference. So that's a professional development that I plan to go to. I think I leave like the afternoon of the 11th, and that's on the 12th. I'll have to double check. So I won't miss too much work time for that. And she's going to go over all the special ed law, of course, all the COVID updates and that kind of stuff. And I also asked her if she'd have a chance to sit down with me and go over what she's figured out from our policies and things at that time if we need some time. So that will be good. I received an email that you guys had worked on. Eric had worked on a collaboration with the Lewis and Clark Public Health for a suicide prevention grant, and that was awarded. So there will be opportunity to do some funding and to do that required suicide prevention training with staff. So she just sent me that email, and I called her today. So we're going to get some start to visit and get that planned. And then transportation, we got all of the transportation challenges figured out. So we didn't need to have a transportation committee meeting yesterday. And the county and the bus drivers and everyone's working together to make sure we have all of our routes and stops correct. So that everyone's been great with that. I had a good meeting with Josh Obert, and appreciate our bus contractors. They've been great to work with. So I've had a lot of fun at the activities, and it's just incredible to see how hard everyone works, and all the staff that pitches in concessions or line judging, or all the administrators being supportive of the students at the activities. It's been a blast, and I'm hoping to go to Missoula Saturday. So hopefully that works out. And then I've been working on making sure we have lots of communication, and I've gotten good feedback on that. And we're trying to do brief, I think hopefully we can keep them quick, but admin meetings so that Jim and IT, Joe and Luke and us administrators are all on the same page and have things ready to go each week. And then thank you for all of your work tonight and approving those stipends and positions. And I will make sure I'll be working with Melinda first thing in the morning to get that advertised in the paper, and anywhere else we need to. Sherry,
Just make sure to send me some digital
Yeah.
copy of wherever you guys have, and I'll get it.
for the Facebook. And then, I'm just thrilled to be here. I love the kids, and everyone's been really great to work with. It's just awesome to have. I think we have such a dynamic team, just such different personalities, and everyone brings different things to the table. So I just really appreciate the leadership team and Christy and the tech team and all of the administrators. Like you said, the gals have been fantastic in the office to work with, and our counselors, and the staff is just really dedicated, and I appreciate having a supportive school board. So I'm just pleased to be here and excited. School's rocking and rolling.
Well, I didn't think that was a 3-hour agenda, but meeting adjourned.
All right. And thanks all you guys for all you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.